Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is Monday, the 29th of June, 2026. I'm Graham Hughes. You are watching Morning Brew with me, Graham Hughes. Hello, hello, hello. How are you all doing this morning? We have in the chat, we've got Lost Missionary, we've got Diz, we've got SG and Saz, Martin Harrow. We've got One Angry Pagan in there. Hello, One Angry Pagan. We've got Shin Zed, we've got Veg Pie. Hey, Veg Pie, how you all doing? I hope you're all feeling really good this morning. The temperature's come down a little bit. We're down to 17 degrees here in the big fridge in Durham. Sorry about the delay there. YouTube have decided to update something, which means that my OBS wasn't connected to the correct account. And then when I tried to keep connecting it to the Hughes the World account, it kept on connecting to Graham Hughes Travels, which is a different channel that I have on YouTube, but I don't really use. Sound check. Oh shit, is there no sound coming through? Let me know if the sound's coming through. I tell you, I was at 9 o'clock on the dot there. Press go live, and it comes up with an error message. And it's like, it comes up like a code. It's like, what's gone wrong since last night? Literally. Can you just let me know in the chat if the sound is coming through? Otherwise, I'll have to check myself on my phone. Sound fine. Okay, thank you, Diz. Thank you. Sorry, I was muted. I don't know why. Okay, Shinzad, thanks. Listen, in future, if there's no sound coming out, can you check your own stuff before you check mine, please? I don't have a producer. I'm doing this all by myself. Anyway, so for those of you who were watching last night for the Sunday night social, which kind of ended in the most awkward silence possible, Wayne has apologized to Mike for upsetting him, and they've sorted that out. So they're friends again now, yay! But I just want the social to just be chill. Do you know what I mean? But it just gets a bit little antsy now and again. Not the first time it's happened. Probably won't be the last. But there you go. At least we're not screaming at each other over politics or whatever. Anyway, so glad to have everyone in the chat here. Listen, if you want to join our friends in the friendly chat, just hit the subscribe button and wait for approximately 1 minute, and you'll be able to join in. But don't be a troll. That's the only rule, really. There's only one rule. Don't be a troll. Don't be horrible. Don't be mean to people. Don't call people names. Just chill. At the end of the day, it's all swings and roundabouts. You know what I mean? Like, we're freaking out about Trump being the biggest twat ever, but as a result of him becoming president, the America's embracing socialism for the first time ever. And 800 million fewer barrels of oil have been burnt so far this year. 800 million barrels less of oil have been burnt as a direct result of Trump and his stupidity. So there you go. There's always a little bit of light on the edge of the cloud. Glad it's all okay between Wayne and Mike. Yeah, so am I. So am I. Short visit this morning. Got a doctor's appointment soon. Okay, server, but thanks for popping in. So today we're going to be talking about the news headlines. We've got Andy Burnham going to be making a speech today about his 10-year devolution plan. We've got the HMRC child benefit error. We've got there's a water use campaign in the UK as a result of the heat wave. I want to talk about the Europe heat wave as well, and it looks like it's cooled down for a bit. Looks like it's going to swing back. The response to the Venezuela earthquake not being great. The Strait of Hormuz. When we mention that again, nacho, taco, nacho. We'll be talking about Ukraine and Russia, and also there's stuff going on the Pakistan-Afghanistan border, and a couple of other stories. So let's get into it. So first of all, we're talking about Andy Burnham. He's going to be his first major speech since becoming our Prime Minister. Oh no, that's going to happen in a few weeks' time. Since winning Makerfield, he's going to get that speech in Manchester today. He will set out a 10-year plan to raise living standards and to move decision-making out of Whitehall in London, which is where all the civil servants meet and do shit. The core proposal, he wants to give mayors and local authorities more control over areas including housing, welfare, education, infrastructure, and some local finance. And this is a brilliant move, right? Because we talk about a lot of the problems that we have with our infrastructure, with our NHS systems, NHS trusts. We have problems with our schools. And a lot of that is because the government has imposed shit on the entire country. I'll give you an example. The national curriculum, which came in while I was in school in the early 90s or the late 80s or somewhere around there. The people who foisted that upon us, right, were all bloody rich knobheads who sent their own kids to private schools, which don't have to follow the national curriculum. And that was the genesis of this real two-tier education system that the likes of Nigel Farage and Boris Johnson and Matt Hancock have benefited from all their lives, and their kids benefit from it, and their kids' kids are going to benefit from it. And this was imposed top down from London, and it was a one size fits all. This is the national curriculum, not taking into account regional variations in what people need, what skills people need. Like, for example, if you're growing up in Oxford, I'm sure it's a lot more important for you to know your Shakespeare from your Chaucer, from your fucking Homer's Odyssey. Do you know what I mean? But like, honestly, growing up in a post-industrial town like or city up here in Newcastle or in Liverpool or Manchester, it's a bit less important. You know, it's important to read and write, don't get me wrong. It's important to be able to do sums, you know, top things up in your head. Yeah, that's important. But when it comes to what is actually needed to teach the kids who live in this city so they don't have to leave the fucking city to get a fucking job, that wasn't taken into consideration. National curriculum, everyone learns the same thing. Created by the people who were mortally afraid of communism. Work that one out. And then we can look at sort of NHS meddling and the way that, you know, top-down systems just don't benefit the NHS because in certain areas there are certain health outbreaks, crises that don't take place in other areas of the UK. And we do need to specialise in certain areas and certain places and make sure that it all works and that your NHS records are carried across different, from your GP to your hospital to your NHS trust to your specialist outpatient operation or treatment that you might be getting. And it's not at the moment. It's really not joined up. That needs to be looked at so you can kind of get this holistic care where you are. Why do we have to travel to bloody, you know, some godforsaken hellhole on the east coast of Britain? I'm not mentioning any names. To go and get an appointment to talk about Catherine's hearing, for instance. Why can't it be done here in Durham? And it's a lack of that localized ideas of like, what do we need here? What things do we need here? Instead of making people travel to get work or to get to, you know, the catchment areas for good schools, which is also a big problem they put down on us from above. But then you've got other things like the right to buy. So the right to buy council homes, right? We've been talking about this quite a lot on this channel and other channels. I'm not the only one to be yakking on about it. But this was the biggest transfer of 2 million homes, the biggest transfer in history of homes, social housing into the private sector. It was absolutely fucking huge, right? And as a result of that, we've now got higher rents than ever before, higher mortgages than ever before, and we've got people on the house waiting years, not just to get a social house, but even just to get it on the ladder, on the property ladder. Don't forget, if you can't go into social home, if you can't get into a social home, then, you know, if you're staying with the private landlord, you have no right to buy that house off the private landlord, do you? No. Also, if you're trying to save for your deposit for your first home, well, that's a bit of an obstacle, isn't it? You don't have that obstacle. Well, our parents didn't have the obstacle, or the grandparents didn't have the obstacle in the 80s, where they didn't have to get the deposit together to buy the council house. It was an option available to them if they'd lived in the council house for X many years. And many people bought these houses for, you know, half a fuck all. And now they're worth hundreds of thousands of pounds. So again, top-down system where they said, okay, we're going to let everyone buy their council houses wherever they are in the country. And the local authority's like, okay, but can we build more houses to replace the ones that we're losing? No. We're going to shift all those houses from the social sector into the private sector. Anyway, so the core proposal, like I say, is giving local authorities, giving local mayors more control. And he's expected to confirm plans for number 10 North in Manchester to coordinate devolution and long-term regional economic policy. And look, as a dirty, grubby northerner, I really, really appreciate this. I really do. The North has been left behind for far too fucking long. It really has. And it's grinding. It is absolutely grinding. All of the money in this country goes to the southeast. Simple as that. London, Kent, what's that place called? Sussex. Sussex, richest county in the world, in Britain. One of the richest counties in the world. And all the money goes there. All the funding goes there. All the facilities go there. And what do we get? Up here in the north, we have to travel fucking 2 hours to get anywhere, to do anything, to do a job, go to the hospital, get checked out at a clinic. You know, the lack of infrastructure, lack of investment. London gets a tube line, the Elizabeth line, that, you know, I mean, okay, whatever. If all things being equal, if everywhere had a great fucking underground, if Newcastle had a great underground and Liverpool did and Manchester did, then fine, but we don't. We don't. You know, Liverpool's got 43 closed railway stations, for Christ's sake. Like, what the fuck, man? Can you put some of them back? Can you put some of those train lines back so we can get around in Liverpool now? So we can get to our jobs now? I'll tell you what, in Liverpool, if you don't have a car, how do you get to work? Got to get the bus. Who else is getting the bus at 8 o'clock in the morning? Kids going to fucking school, screaming their heads off, spitting, putting chewing gum on the seats. You know. Kids, why do that? Why set the system up that way? Meanwhile, in London, they have this amazing integrated transport system, and they need an extension on the Northern Line to get it to Battersea. Fine, Battersea Power Station, bring it on. The money is there. They want to do a Crossrail, make the Elizabeth Line at the cost of, was it 41 billion fucking pounds? Yeah, London. What London wants, London gets. London gets all the shows, all the gigs. All the museums, everything goes to London. And so, yeah, I'm really, really feeling positive about this. And this is something that, as we keep talking about, what the failures of Starmer was that he just didn't make people feel like anything had changed. This would make me feel like something had changed. Rather than, you know, just, write a letter to Parliament, write a letter to London, fucking, you know, scent it with lavender, fold it neatly, you know, write it with a quill pen, put it into, you know, nice little envelope and write the address on the front, put a stamp on it, and then set it on fire. You got to get the same results. So then you've also got, you know, this concept that he's talking about good growth in every postcode. I don't know about the grammar on that, but he's saying good growth in every postcode. And a model based on the Greater Manchester style cooperation between government, business, universities and communities. And yes, we need this. Yes, we've got to be realistic. We have to be realistic. We do need businesses. We need them to pay the right share of tax as well. But we can't be anti-business. We can't be anti our own, you know, competitiveness. The EU has found this out to its, you know, to its detriment, that because it was so draconian in its restrictions on what companies could do. Meanwhile, in America, they're allowed to just go around, you know, stabbing orphans in the face or whatever they wanted to do. That was fine. But because in Europe we were so cautious, there was an overabundance of caution, which meant that we don't have any of the big tech firms in the world. None of them are based in the EU. Because there's somewhere else where they're a bit more free to do things. Now, I'm not saying that we should move to an American model where you are free to stab babies in the face, but I am saying that there should be a somewhere in between. An overabundance of caution is why the high-speed rail link between Birmingham and Manchester wasn't built. HS2 was abandoned. The link between Manchester and Leeds wasn't built. It was sacked off because of an overabundance of caution. We had to ask every single man, woman, tree, rabbit, shrub, if it was okay if we ploughed a high-speed rail line through their backyard. And if they said no, we were tied up in litigation for the next 100 fucking years. We had to make sure that everyone was all right. The reason why COP fails is because we had to make sure that every country in the world, even the ones with vested interests in keeping us burning oil, agree to stop us from burning oil. Yeah, that's not going to work, dickheads. That's not going to work. Okay, I'm going to tell you that now. You have people whose job, whose livelihood, whose riches, whose second, third, fourth mega yacht depend on us continuing to burn oil. And then you invite them to a meeting where you all get together and say, hey, we all have to agree that we have to stop burning oil. And they'll go, no, we're going to veto that. In America, their equivalent of HS2, it'd be HS1 for them, is a train line that's supposed to run between Los Angeles and San Francisco. It is taking fucking years. It's gone massively over budget. And again, it's happened because of an overabundance of caution. That in California, the state legislature wants to ask every single, farmer on the way through the fields if it's okay. And if it's not okay, it's fine. You can take us to court and we can argue about it in court. The argument will run out. And you're talking about having to deal with thousands and thousands of people all who have a problem with the thing you're trying to do. And again, I'm not saying we should go full Chairman Mao and just do it anyway. Do you know what I mean? But there has to be a happy medium here. There has to be a happy medium. So public procurement reform is expected to be part of the speech with more emphasis on British jobs. Apprenticeships and work placements. Education policy will focus on technical routes as well as academic routes, including response to the Milburn report on young people not in education, employment and training. And one of the reasons why you've got so many kids now not in education, employment or training is literally because of the it's because one of the big reasons is we left the EU. So there's a load of jobs that young people in this country can't go and get now. So we're having to pay their dole instead. Good job, Gams. I cried when Lassie died. Oh, we all did. Getting to Liverpool, for me, is not bad for Manchester Victoria in 35 minutes, but Leeds from the same station is a nightmare with only odd train under 45 minutes. Getting to Piccadilly, a bind. Yeah. Well, I was gonna get the train to Liverpool later this week to go and see my folks, but it's too expensive. It's cheaper for me to drive on my own, and also it's a big hassle now because TransPennine Express are doing some upgrades or something, so I can't get. There's no direct trains this week from Durham to Liverpool. There's no direct trains. Great. American socialists may surprise us, says Black Dog Barking. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I could see that. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. And so I'm hoping that we can see something to change here. I don't know when Burnham's doing his speech. If someone else wants to find out for me, if he's doing it at 10 o'clock or something, we'll cover that here on this channel. Just let me know. I'm looking at the BBC site here, and it's just saying he will give a major policy speech later. So when later is, who knows? But if someone can do a bit of Googling and find out, I'll be much appreciative. Also, I'm going to set the goal to get a couple of super chats in. So we can fire off the confetti cannon, because we always love a little bit of confetti on this channel. Confetti. There we go. And let's blow that open. Okay, cool. Right, the confetti cannon it's loaded. It is locked and loaded. Loaded and locked. I suppose you'd want to lock you. I suppose you want to load it before you lock it, don't you? I guess. Trains down here usually pretty good. Really need to move the coastal lines due to the sea level rise, though. They won't, mate. They're just going to build a big concrete wall. That's the plan. Because you know what concrete uses? Loads of fucking oil. Making concrete is the most environmentally damaging substance you can make anything out of. It's another reason why I fucking hate it. Plus, it's fucking ugly. It's like solidified fucking slop. Solidified fucking mashed potatoes. Let's make all these fucking buildings out of solidified mashed potatoes. Oh no, but it's all falling apart. It's only been there for 30 years. It's already falling apart. Yeah, because you built it out of shite. Why don't you build it out of proper stuff like bricks and stones? You build it out of fucking wood if you like. Last fucking longer if you look after it. Democrats, like Labour, a fake establishment party, but there are people there who are secret Marxists. Labour's not a fake establishment party; it's an establishment party. I mean, it is the opposition, and the only party that's going to win the next election that isn't on the right is Labour. It just is. And I hate that. I hate that that's the case. I wish we lived in a place where people could vote whatever they wanted to. But I keep saying this: political parties are not pressure groups. It's as simple as that. They're a political party, a completely different beast. But people treat them like pressure groups because of the success of things like UKIP pushing for the raison d'etre was getting us out of the EU. And this is why Farage is having so much trouble at the moment with his stupid little outfit now. Is refuck party, is because they've got nothing. They've got nothing to live for. There's no reason for this party to exist. Any of the social stuff that's covered by the Tories, anything that they want to be racist about and stop people from coming in from the country into the country. Well, if you're a bit mellow on that, and you're on the right, you're a Tory. If you're a bit more fucking gung ho on it, like let's throw people out who are the wrong colour, then you're going to go over to Rupert Lowe's Restore. They're stuck in the middle. They've got nothing. They've got nothing driving them because they're not a political party. They're a pressure group. Same with Restore. They're a fucking pressure group. And same, unfortunately, with the Greens. They're a pressure group. They're not a political party at the moment. I mean, maybe they might be in 20 years' time or something. But as things stand, there is no chance. And I'm going to nail my balls to the fucking cross on this one. Is that the expression? The Greens stand as much chance as the Lib Dems of winning the next election. The Lib Dems have been the protest party of choice for nearly all my life now, since the 80s. And okay, cool. They reached a high point in the last election, when people were protesting against the Tories but couldn't bring themselves to vote for Labour. They got themselves 70 MPs. That's really good. Well done. Well done. Still fucking 300 odd short of a majority. And it's not because the Greens and the Lib Dems are less worthy, or their leaders aren't as good, or the people who are engaged in promoting them aren't as energized. It's not that. It's just money. It just comes down to money. The reason why refuck is a threat, even though hopefully it's going down the drain now, is because it's got so much money. It's absolutely fucking loaded. It's got an unlimited supply of cash from crypto billionaires around the world. People who live in other countries manipulating our politics, manipulating our way of life, taking jobs from young people, taking care from old people, taking shrinking the horizons of the nation's youth, shutting down the sure start centres, shutting down the youth centres, shutting down anything that gives people a chance to get out of their the drudgery of everyday life that the rich elites want us to keep us in forever. Don't get ideas above your station, they say. And when you do, they get very, very upset. So yeah, Reuters is reporting that sterling is steady this morning ahead of Burnham's speech, and the pound is, although the pound is on course for its biggest monthly fall since March, and has lost 1.7% against the dollar this month. As investors look for clues about Burnham's economic policy and who he would appoint as chancellor, and speculators hold an $8.72 billion short position against sterling, betting on it going down, which is the biggest such bet since 2015. And Reuters says that analysts are focused on whether Burnham can pursue growth plans without alarming gilt markets, which he's mentioned already that we're a bit too in hock to these people that we owe money to. And don't forget, the Tories maxed out the nation's credit card, and that is a really easy slogan for people to get their heads around. The Tories maxed out our credit card, and now we're paying £120 billion every year just on interest on that credit card. The Tories did that. The Tories, not Labour, the Tories. In fact, when the Tories took over, they managed to increase the amount we have to pay back in terms of interest on the loans to the government, the gilt yields. They managed to increase them threefold. They've tripled. They've tripled under the Tories. over 14 years of just absolute fucking carnage and mismanagement of the economy. The Daily Fail are really whipping up the hatred against Burnham today. One of their stories has Burnham declares war on the South, incoming PM tees up, tax raids on middle class. Yeah, of course. I mean, it's already started. The middle class still exists. Well, I mean, Greg, the upper class have really done a number on the middle class. They've cleaved a big section of it to them. Like you're with us now. You're a toff. You're part of the neo aristocracy, and everyone who's been left behind has been genuinely left behind. And I don't see it as working class and lower middle class anymore. It is the haves and the have-nots. That's it in our society right now. They're your two classes. Are you a have or are you a have-not? Simply Secular Dave. Hey, Graham Davis, Hughes and friends. From working the afternoon shift out here in Western Canada. Canada. Oh, brilliant. Love a bit of Canada. Not been over to the West. Not been over to BC or Vancouver. One day. In 2034 AD, I'll go to BC. We can't just declare bankruptcy either. No, we can't. We can't. And they're in, there's a economist, Richard something, who does videos, and he says, "Oh, we should just sack it all off." And I'm like, I don't think that works. I don't know. I'm not an economist, but I really don't think that I really feel like if we did that, we'll get into trouble somehow. If Burnham walked on water, the right-wing press would complain he couldn't swim. Yeah, indeed. It's one of the things he's got to do. He's got to bring the right-wing press to heel. He's got to bring... there are 6 people who run everything that we see on the internet. Everything. 6 people. 6 fucking people run everything we see on the internet. 6 foreign billionaires. Richard Murphy. That's it. Richard Murphy. I mean, he's got some good ideas, don't get me wrong, but when he starts talking about, the government, we don't actually owe any money to anyone, it's all owed to the Bank of England, we owe it to ourselves and we can just sack it off. I'm pretty sure it's not that simple, but, whatever. I have a spare room, come hang out, play video games, free Wi-Fi. Yay! Might take you up on that, Dave. I'm the type of twat who'll turn up 20 years later after you met me on holiday for 5 minutes and be like, hey, you said if I was ever... If it was ever in Ouagadougou, I should pop in. You're like, who the fuck are you? But yeah, going back to Burnham and the how the money markets are responding to him. Actually, I mean, the sterling is holding steady. He is going to be talking about supporting British businesses, and there are ways that we can do this. We were talking about getting. Pension funds have to invest a bigger chunk of their money in British companies, because at the moment it's only like 2 or 3% of these pension schemes funds are invested in British companies. The rest of it's invested in foreign companies, which doesn't help us out very much. It's British money being invested in other people's shit, and I'm like, and it's really weird. The same people who are very, very vexed, feeling very vexed if we give money to starving children in West Africa. They're like, how dare you, or East Africa, how dare you give all this money to, and you're like, we give money to billionaires in other countries all the fucking time. We just do. That's the way the system is. It's the way it's set up. It's fucking crazy. It's fucking crazy. Same people who go on and on and on about the ethnic makeup of Britain at the end of the century. 74 years time. Oh, what's the ethnic makeup of Britain going to be like? It's fine. You'll be dead, mate. You'll be absolutely fucking brown bread. Guarantee it. You're not going to be here. You're not going to be here. You will have joined the quiet invisible in 75 years' time. You will not be here. Why do you care? Oh, because I care about the future of the country. Okay, well, why don't you care about climate change? Because if we render the most, 90% of this land, this green and pleasant land, absolutely fucking uninhabitable, then that's going to fuck things up no matter what. Why aren't you asked about that? Because it's a con. It's a lie. It's a lie. Climate change is a lie. It was hotter in the past. Oh, how do you know it was hotter in the past? Science. Okay, so you acknowledge that science can tell us what the climate was like millions of years ago. But you can't accept that science can tell us what the climate is going to be like a few years hence if we keep putting CO2 into the atmosphere. Okay. The downside to doing that is you wipe out extra tax revenue into the treasury. I know keeping the book costs, it's definitely used in the treasury's budget balancing. UK. Also, I mean, another thing I'd like to see is investment in people in this country. Like these foreign billionaires invest in our politicians like Nigel Farage and Boris Johnson. Like that. But instead, people in this country taking on apprentices, sponsoring content creators, sponsoring artists, musicians. I want to see much more of that. I want to see investment going in to what I would like to see is some sort of foundations, artistic foundations set up. We'll have one for Liverpool, we'll have one for Manchester, one for Leeds, and all the cities around the country will have an artistic foundation. And the people in that city who have a few bob, or even the people aren't in the city who have a few bob, can invest in that foundation. So you're not putting all your eggs in one basket. You're not just finding one talented individual and hoping that they'll fucking get a #1 hit record out before they die of a drugs overdose. Okay, we were talking about getting a pool of artists and saying this foundation is funded by XYZ, and those investors get a return if those artists make it to the big time. That's the deal. That is the fucking deal. I would love that to be set up around the country. So instead of investing in the only thing that we seem to fucking well invest in this country, which is houses, more houses, and luxury flats, more empty luxury flats for everyone, which is bullshit and doesn't make anything for our economy. Does not swell our economy at all. Except when some Russian oligarch buys up half of the houses in Belgravia, perhaps you can make an argument for it. But that's not even really helping because those houses are not being used for anything. So the bit being left empty, how does that improve the local community around Belgravia where there's no shops and there's nothing to buy, there's nothing to do because no one fucking lives there, turning into a fucking ghost town? I would like to see us stop this fucking obsession with investing in concrete, Fucking drill a little glory hole in your fucking concrete building, in your concrete abomination. Well fucking done. Can we stop doing that, right? And can we invest in the people of this country? Because I tell you what, we have very few natural resources left in this country. We really do. The Romans took most of our gold. We've got fuck all left. Our oil's running out. Even if we wanted to drill more oil fields, it's not going to last very long. We don't have any coltan. We don't have, maybe we might be able to get some lithium from the old tin mines down in Cornwall. I don't know. But generally speaking, when it comes to raw materials in this country, we're not punching above our weight in any shape or form, except for two things. Wind. We've got more wind power than fucking anywhere else in Europe. Any other country in Europe, we absolutely trouts them in terms of the amount of wind power that can be harnessed on these islands, right? The other thing, on and off the islands actually, the other thing is the people of this country are fucking incredible. Absolutely incredible. And talk about punching above your weight, not just in terms of the artists and the film directors and the actors and the musicians that this country has created, as nurtured, as foisted into being, like Bowie and the Stones and the Beatles. I mean, they're huge fucking names known all over the world. And what about all of the scientific breakthroughs in this country? I mean, it's not enough that we essentially invented the TV. I know that was Farnsworth as well in America, but it's bringing it together. You had the Scottish invention, Alexander Graham Bell invented the fucking telephone. We had the internet, the World Wide Web, Tim Berners-Lee. In fact, one of the first computers, the Manchester Mark I, that was in Manchester, as the name suggests. Under Alan Turing. Just some of the most creative minds. Shakespeare, Dickens, Wordsworth. Even goddamn, more recently. I know these people are problematic, but Roald Dahl, Ian Fleming, even J.K. fucking Rowling. British people creating this stuff that goes on to be absolutely fucking massive. J.R.R. Tolkien. Even though he's born in South Africa, so, I thought it was the other tidal range. The problem is, Billy, I don't want to go on about tidal range too much, but I've looked into this because obviously Liverpool has one of the highest tidal ranges in the world, next to Bristol and uh, the Bay of Fundy in Canada. We have a 10-meter tidal range, I think. I'm going to look it up now. All right, I'm going to look it up just so I get that figure completely right. What is the tidal range of Liverpool? Liverpool? It should be Mersey, shouldn't it? It is. Okay, it can surge up to 9.2 meters. That's the spring tide range. So the mean average is 6.4, but that's you got your neap tide and you got your spring tide. 2 tides a day. One is a half tide, one is a full tide, and it can go up to 9.2 meters a day. That is a lot of energy. That is a lot of energy. That water coming in, that water coming out every day into the Mersey estuary. Now, we talk a lot about tidal power and harnessing tidal power. The problem is spoiling. Talked about this about the cargo ships that are all stuck in the fucking Persian Gulf at the moment. That also the longer you leave it, the longer it takes to scrape the deck. The hull, not the deck. Scrape the hull of all the barnacles and things. You put anything into the water, and algae goes, yeah, I'll have that. Barnacles go, I'll have that. Mussels go, I'll have that. It's very difficult to make stuff that doesn't spoil. But it's maintenance more than anything. So, yes, I agree that in the future, tidal power could be a really great baseline for making power. I absolutely 100% agree with that. Don't know if the technology is there yet. I much prefer the idea of investing in tidal mechanisms for generating electricity using hydrophobic materials that don't allow things to stick to it. But the maintenance cost on those things will be a lot higher than the maintenance costs on wind turbines. The cost of production is going to be a lot higher than the cost of production of wind turbines. We kind of perfected the art of wind turbines at the moment, and that's why so much of our power is being created by wind power at the moment. What have we got? We've got 20% of 21% of our energy right now, is being made by wind power, and 23% is being made by solar. It's fucking incredible. Those are proven technologies that work, and we can get going with it. Having said all that, I would really, really prefer us to be spending time and energy as humans looking into tidal energy, as opposed to carbon capture or hydrogen. Stop it. Forget it, right? They're non-starters. They're absolutely not. I'm fed up of hearing about bloody hydrogen. I've heard about it all my life, and it can never work. The physics is against you on that one, I'm afraid. Try sticking it in the pipe, it gets out the pipe. It wants to react with everything. It's hydrogen. It's lonely. It's just one little proton, one little electron, and one little neutron, I think. Going, can I have friends? I want friends. And that's why it bonds to other atoms like that, because it doesn't want to be on its own. Plus, it's the smallest atom, so it's really, really hard to keep in a pipe. The UK developed transphobia and shifted to the US and the world. We truly are TERF Ireland. Do you think that the transphobia started here first? Black dot dot. I thought it started in the US. I know J.K. Rowling was an early proponent of it, but as was Graham Linehan. But I always thought that was something that America was going for, and America's really going for it now. We talk about using the G word, using the word genocide. I don't know if we're there yet in the UK, but certainly in America, it's going that way. They do not want trans people in everyday life at all. Why? Oh, because we were told we need this weapon of mass distraction from the oil companies and these dickheads, especially people who are in the LGBT community themselves, who go along with this bullshit. And it's like, they'll come for you next. What do you think they're going to do? They're going to go, oh, jobs are good. Do you know what I mean? Sit down and smoke a pipe on the porch in the rocking chair. No, they're not. They're not going to do that. They're going to move on to the next thing. And the next thing will be gay people and lesbians, bisexuals. That's the next thing. Of course it is. No neutrons in hydrogen. Yeah. They don't even have neutrons. No wonder they're so lonely. I've since found out by a test case that my invention isn't owned by the uni. as they didn't come up with the idea, but it's impossible to get things going in the UK. Yeah, Sean, again, go back to talking about funding. We just don't invest in science. We don't invest in, these big corporations like GlaxoSmithKline or AstraZeneca, Bayer. Yeah, they'll invest in innovation, but there's no sort of regional hubs where entrepreneurs with a bit of money can say, okay, I'll put $5,000 into this, creative hub or scientific hub, and we'll see what comes out of it. Because I tell you, that there is so much talent on these islands, absolutely untapped. They talk about tapping the oil that's left over in the North Sea. Fuck that shit. Tap the fucking talent in this country and let people who didn't go to private school, the 93% of us who didn't go to private school, give us a chance. Give us a chance to shine. Give us a chance to show you what we can do. Oh, Jesus Christ. If I can go to every country in the world on my own, on a shoestring, without flying, and then, I can just do a 65.5 hour fucking live stream, for nothing. I did that on fuck all. Fucking hand to mouth. If I can do that for fucking nothing, what could I do with funding? If I had some decent fucking funding. But yeah, just not forthcoming. The investment in science has taken a massive hit recently. Yes, yeah, it has. And we see this all the time, the opportunities arise. So you've got like the patriotic millionaires who are happy to go on TV and say that they want to pay more tax, but they're not happy to fund artists, to fund content creators, to make that happen, to help make that happen, to talk about it, to get platforms together, to build communities online like this community we have here, which I'm really, seriously appreciative of. I know, the thing is, like with the show last night, we might have our fallings out. We might not, storm off in a big huff. But generally speaking, I don't have a beef with anyone. I just kind of want just everyone to have a good time. But, they're trying to keep a politics group, a political group together. And we had this problem with when we were fighting to stay in the EU. It's like herding cats. So the fact that so many of you come back day after day and chat in the chat, and you're all really nice to each other, and you treat each other with respect and stuff. I love it. It really gives me a warm and fuzzy feeling. A lot better than going on Facebook at the moment, where I am, and I've got to admit this, I am purposefully enraging the trolls because I get money for it now. Since last month, this month, I actually get paid by Facebook if Facebook does stuff. Should we sing the national anthem in schools again, Cher, if you agree? The fuck? No. Do you go to school? No. Well, fuck off then. Yeah. Anyway. So, what else is going on in the news today? Let's have a look. We've got the HMRC child benefit error. The National Audit Office has said that the HMRC did not adequately consider the impact of an anti-fraud scheme that wrongly suspended child benefit for around 23 families. That's all. No, sorry, I read that wrong. No, it's 230 families. No, sorry. It wasn't 230 families. It was 2,300 families. 2,300 families had their child benefit suspended. Sorry, I'm reading it wrong. It was 23,000 people. 23,000 families wrongly had their child benefit suspended because of an overabundance of caution towards people who require benefits to make sure that no one's cheating the system. Meanwhile, the billionaires who don't pay any fucking tax, free to do what they want. No, you can't tax me. It's a loan. Fucking tax the loans. If you take out a loan of more than 50 grand, that's it. You have to pay tax on it. It's income. We've got to start regarding loans as income. You're right about investing in people, but I would like an elite that didn't just think of the populace as a resource. Well, I mean, I use that word black dog barking because I'm trying to compare it with the amount of money that we put into the resource that is like housing. But yeah, I get what you're saying because I don't like the term human resources. It sounds like something from Soylent Green. You know what I mean? It sounds like something from a dystopian 1970s fucking sci-fi movie. I work in human resources, and it's all like severed arms and eyeballs in jars and stuff. which human resources would you like this morning? So yeah, I that'd make a good film, wouldn't it? Should we do a little short called Human Resources? And it's people going, I don't like my colour eyes. I want to have. I saw a comedian the other day talking. Who was it? I think it was the guy from Howard and Kumar Go to White Castle. Was it him? The guy he's in Silicon Valley. He's dead funny, stand-up comedian. Anyway, he was talking. He's Indian heritage, and he was talking about why do white people get all the different colours? Why do they get ginger? Why do they get like blue eyes, and everyone else gets black eyes, black hair? Why do they get all the fucking variety? I thought that's a very good point. And I think maybe we should start whittling white people down to the very basics and put them all into different sections of the zoo, depending on which part of the anatomy is slightly different from the others. But there you go. I have a national anthem that's uplifting with no lyrics, says Martin Harrow. Yeah. So let's do it. Let's do this little short, and it's someone goes into a human resources to get new ears and gets obsessed with it. And in the end, he gets a new head and he's a completely different person. But they could do a little Black Mirror episode, couldn't we? Called Human Resources. Just get a new arm. Just put it on. Take your old one off. Don't want this arm anymore. It's crap. Burnham speaking at 11 a.m. Oh, brilliant. Okay. All right, Timbex. Well, we normally go for the show for about 2 hours in the morning, going through all the news headlines and the papers and the stuff. So 11 a.m. We will go over to see what Andy Burnham has to say. We'll do that together. Yeah, it'll be fun. Come on, let's do it together. Chris says, while breaking news, white working class children failed by England's school system inquiry finds. So another inquiry that the right-wing gammons can use to justify their racist views. Unfortunately, yeah. But then it's not wrong, is it? They are being failed. But then black kids are being failed as well. Brown kids are being failed. In fact, all the kids are being failed who don't go to private school. Anyway, so the scheme was used by the Home Office. It used Home Office flight data to identify claimants who were supposedly living abroad. And many affected parents, talking about these 23,000 families, many affected parents had only gone on holiday, travelled via Dublin, or not travelled at all despite booking flights. So, HMRC removed pay-as-you-earn cross-checks during rollout because it lacked experienced staff to carry them out. So they went, right, we're going to stop all these benefits going through. Why? Because this person left the country. Can we double-check that now? Some parents were sent letters demanding answers to 70 questions to prove they had not emigrated. HMRC has since reintroduced pay-as-you-earn checks and removed Northern Ireland travellers returning via Dublin from the relevant data set. That's crazy. So you stamped out of the country, and then because you're right, you come back in via Dublin, which is a common travel area, you don't get stamped back in if you come in from Dublin. That is crazy, isn't it? I agree they're being failed. All kids in state schools are being failed following 14 years of austerity. Burnham, trans people are important. I'm appointing 3 to my cabinet, but I'm not really imagining that. I think they'll find it difficult to get 3 people into the cabinet, 3 trans people into the cabinet, considering there aren't any trans MPs at the moment. But the trans lobby is going to come along next minute and tell us all what to do and how to live. Start transing the children. They're transing the children. Stop them. Section 28 was brought out in the 1980s because Thatcher governments thought that if we had gay teachers talking about gay things, it would make the kids gay. Gay couples weren't allowed to adopt for years and years. Why? Because they thought that if a kid had 2 dads or 2 mums, they'll grow up gay. No, they would grow up thinking that gay is perfectly normal, but it doesn't mean that they will necessarily be attracted to people of the same sex. It happens sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't happen. A bit like being left-handed. It's like, well, if you have these parents and both of them are left-handed, they're bound to create a right-handed child. No, left-handed child, sorry. I don't think it works with that either, because isn't it a regressive gene? I don't know. Let's group all the people together. Being a people that punches above its weight comes at a price, so do inventions. The combustion engine and refining in Scotland, even rubber tyres and tarmac came from Scottish inventors. That's very true. A lot of amazing things were invented in Scotland. Lots of amazing things. Super chats refusing payments. Really? Thanks for letting me know, Martin Harrow. Can someone else try? I mean, just for like a quid or something. Can someone else try if they can see if they can give a super chat? Because I think there's that YouTuber changed something or fucked something up. Let me just check my page and make sure that my YouTube studio. Oh, to get the goal started, Viper Scott. Oh, thank you, Viper Scott. No, so that's obviously working. So I was just a bit phased because starting this morning 9 o'clock on the dot, and I kept getting an error message saying I'm not connected to my account anymore. And then I had to reconnect to the account, but it kept on putting me onto the wrong account. So I don't know what YouTube have changed. Maybe they've made it so like you have one account now and different channels within that account. Maybe, I don't know. I was watching 24 Hours in Police Custody before this. It was a harrowing episode dealing with historic child sex abuse. The police interview victims and then offered zero support. Two unalived at the visits. Oh my god, that is fucking horrific. Yeah, I saw a thing today about stalking, about how people who are being stalked online, women especially who are being stalked online, are being told by the police just to ignore it. That's the first call of thing, to ignore it and hope it goes away. But you know what? 99 times out of 100, it doesn't go away. I'm the only left-handed person in my family. I'm also the only Labour supporter. Coincidence? I think not. Starminator. Drainy, thank you very much for the £2 super chat, Drainy. That's very kind of you. So we seem to be going all right with that at the moment. So let's go back to what we're talking about the benefit error. So that is just very emblematic, and this happened under the Tories. It's very emblematic of how these millionaires who have never made a sandwich want to control our lives and nickel and dime us for everything. The way that we run our benefit system is very much like they run EasyJet flights. You make one mistake in the booking and that's it, you're fucked. It's going to cost you a lot of money. It's going to cost you. You're going to be fined or parking your car. And people like Nigel Farage never had to do a 3-point fucking turn in a car. Yeah, I doubt Nigel Farage knows how to drive. Have you ever seen him driving a car? I haven't. He'll have a chauffeur. Of course he will. He's very rich. You just got people to do this kind of thing. His terror is just having to do the dishes. That is his ultimate terror, and he'll do everything in his power to keep his bank balance very, very feathered. His nest very feathered. Trying again, Martin Harrow. Thank you very much for trying again, and we got another £2 super chat out of you. That's very kind of you. And Veg Pie, we got a £2 super chat out of Veg Pie. Yay! Thank you, Veg Pie. Yay! So we've got 4 out of 5 now. One more, and we can set off the Blackpool illuminations of confetti. Black Dog Barking is saying the trans stuff is cruel. Yeah, that the cruelty is the point. The cruelty is the point. They're picking on a community that has very little in the way of voice, very little in the way of political power, and they're picking on them because they can. It's classic bullying, high school fucking bullying. That's what it is, and it's horrific. And it's got to stop. It's got to fucking stop, and we need more people making a fucking noise about it. And what enrages a lot of us, myself, and I know a lot of trans people who watch this, is like the lack of other people on our side who talk about it. They're happy to wang on and on about rejoining the fucking EU or changing the voting system. But when it comes to the actual discrimination that's going on right now, the horrific apartheid-style discrimination against trans people, silence, fucking crickets. Confetti says GM lovely. Oh, that's so lovely of you. And Saz as well has dropped a super chat in. Thank you so much to Saz and GM lovely. That allows me to press the magic button. Should we press it together? Come on, 3, 2, 1. Confetti! Woo! Almost exactly on the 10 o'clock mark. Confetti for tears. Oh, thanks, Jenny. Thank you. Thank you. That's very kind of you. You are awesome. So what I'll do now, right, is I will reset it to Boba Fetty. So if we get some Boba Fetty. So I'm going to be going on till 11, so no rush. But if you want some Boba Fetty, give it a minute. Give it a minute so it still counts. But I've done that. Oh, trans right to human rights from Iceboo. Thank you, Iceboo. And you are exactly right. Yes, trans rights are human rights. And the torrent of abuse that trans people have endured over the last 10 years for no reason whatsoever. Absolute astroturfed, created conflict. When you're watching a TV show or a movie and they create a conflict for no good reason whatsoever, it's really lame when you watch something and it's something that could have been like the conflict, whatever it is, it could have been resolved with a conversation. The whole thing is a misinterpretation. Basically, every episode of Neighbours is this. It's a competition and someone misinterprets something and you're like, that is manufactured. That is manufactured drama. Do you know what I mean? Like that I don't think it's particularly good writing. I think if you're going to have a drama, there's things that you don't need to manipulate it, blah, 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 right? When it comes to the people being horrible to trans people, it's completely manufactured. It's 100% artificial. It doesn't come from any real source. It's just they need to find someone to go after because they'd lost the war against gay people. Sky News is saying Burnham's speech is at 11:30. Oh no, don't even go on that long. Jesus. Ryan Burke, £5 super chat. Thank you, Ryan Burke. That's very kind. And Black Dot says the troll, political X, Max, James O'Brien, all silence on trans rights. Well, we die for theirs. James O'Brien did like one show last year. When the trans guidance came out, the fucking, the trans how to be horrible to them guidance came out. He did one show and it was a brilliant show, and trans people called up and made their argument really, really emphatically and empathetically. Is that a word? I don't know. They were very empathetic in the way that they spoke about the situation. And it was a really good show. And then he did that one-off show, and then that was it. That was it. I don't think he's mentioned it since. I don't listen to James O'Brien as much these days because I'm still pissed off about what happened to Sangeeta Maiska. But yeah. I put a ginger lefty from Wales I met in the US debate in a room and mod onto Graham's channel. Oh, that's good. Thanks, Brett Bott. You're awesome. I've served prison sentences along transgender prisoners. 95% of them are brilliant. Will always help others where they can, even if it's just a brew in a chat, says Chris. Yeah. I mean, obviously, in any given group of people, there's going to be a couple of twats. But proportionately, there are fewer twats. If you had 100 trans people in a room, there'd be fewer twats than if you just had 100 people who weren't trans in a room. Do you know what I mean? The proportion of twats is there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them in the cisgender straight community. Yeah, the one that bothers me, I think, more than anything, when it comes to the lack of support towards trans people, is when it's from gay men. Gay men not giving support to the trans community just drives me up the fucking wall. Drives me up the fucking wall. Anyway, so yeah, apparently there's going to be a UK water use campaign, and UK-wide water saving campaign is going to launch this week as the country emerges from the heatwave. The campaign aims to cut average personal water use from 140 litres a day to 112 litres. It's backed by water companies, regulators, and environmental agencies. The campaign will advise shorter showers, fixing leaks, and water-efficient devices. The Guardian reports that 19% of UK water is currently lost through leaks. Yeah, not in my house. That's not in my house. It's not in your house. It's not in your flat. The leaks are in the ground outside, which these water companies haven't invested in getting rid of. They're wasting all this fucking water, and then they're telling us to turn our hose pipes off. Talking of turn off your hose pipe, so reports that France has recorded 1,000 excess deaths during the record-breaking European heatwave. French authorities say that most deaths involved older people. Temperatures reached 40 degrees C in parts of Europe. Austria, the Czech Republic, Germany and Poland have set temperature records The heat has disrupted power generation, rail services, tram services, agriculture, and river services. Hungary's Pax nuclear plant reduced output because Danube River water used for cooling was too warm. And forecasters say the heat is easing in part of France, but shifting into Central Europe and the Balkans, where it'll cause more deaths there. We need more AC. We need more AC in Europe. We need to start retrofitting buildings with AC. And I know it's difficult because these buildings are old, but it can be done. And we need to start doing it. Each house gets one room. That's the cool room for those few days of summer where it gets unbearably hot. Because it's not just the 1,000 deaths that we need to look at in France. We also need to look at the fact that when it's really hot, people become less productive. You do less stuff. You make worse decisions if you're too hot. And countries where it's hot all the time, they've come up with ways to deal with the heat. We don't have that here. We don't have ways to deal with the heat. And yeah, it is just a few days at the moment, but going forward, it's not going to get any better. You know, climate change is like dementia. It's not going to get any better, mate. It's just going to get fucking hotter. You know? There's no cure for this. Even if we stopped using fossil fuels today, the world will still be a hotter place than it should be. Before we started digging all this sludge out the ground and burning the fucking stuff. Golf courses are exempt from hosepipe bans because, of course, they are. Yeah. Because toffs need nice green grass to play on. Yeah. Meanwhile, Venezuela is still recovering from the horrific earthquakes that took place last week. A father and son were rescued alive in La Guarida after 4 days being under the rubble. French and US rescue workers carried out they carried out the rescue after 12 hours of work. La Guarida is the hardest hit coastal state after Wednesday's earthquakes. So far, the death toll is at 1,450 people. And like I say, that's probably going to go up. Like I said, this could go into the tens of thousands. At least 33 people were rescued over the weekend, but tens of thousands remain missing. And search specialists warn survival chances drop sharply after 72 hours under the rubble. One of the things exacerbating the situation is that the people of Venezuela have had a really shit government since 1999, since Hugo Chavez swept into power and fucked everything for everyone in Venezuela, so much so that a third of the population has left because he fucked it so badly. Came in with grand promises of a socialist state, you know, standing on its own 2 feet, and didn't have to take instructions from anywhere, and left its regional trading blocks as it could stand on its own 2 feet. It didn't need anyone. It had all this oil, you see. It had all this fucking oil. Look at us, we're the big I am. And do you know what happens? Fucking corruption. In the same way that if Farage ever gets in charge of this country, corruption. Corruption has fucked Venezuela. And most of the buildings that just fucking pancaked were not built up to building code. This isn't the first time there's been earthquakes in Venezuela. It won't be the last time there were major earthquakes in Venezuela. It happens. And you need to build buildings that can survive being shook up a bit. But they didn't because of corruption, because of Chavez and then Maduro running the place like their own private fiefdom, and building some hospitals here and there. Great. But if you treat someone in a hospital and you spend thousands of dollars, treating whatever, meningitis or whatever it is, and then you cure them and they go home and then they get crushed by the house because it fucking collapses when it's when there's an earthquake, you waste all that money, mate. No system can really support corruption. It can't. Once systems become corrupt, like what we're seeing in America under Trump, or what Nigel Farage is doing in this country and wants to do if he ever got into power, once you allow corruption to enter your system at that level, then everything gets fucked. Don't get me wrong, Britain is fucking corrupt. It's one of the problems that we have in this country is the monumental level of corruption, especially in the old school ties, the old boys network. But at least the corruption here might end up, causing a disaster like a train crash or, some kind of health and safety fucking nightmare that takes out a load of people in one particular area. But we're not somewhere that has earthquakes. So, there's that. Although the lack of planning for the future when we were going to go under fucking water is quite worrying. There was a strong socialist caucus in American politics from the end of World War One and through the interwar years. This included significant communist components, both in the unions and elected officers. Yeah, Stephen, and then they were wiped out by McCarthy, who had no decency. McCarthy. Tragic, you have to shell out again. Can you upgrade your system with a card? Brett is talking about the new computer. Damn, you must have been bent double, Norton. I hope you recovered quickly. Ooch. And then in the 50s, McCarthy. Yeah. Okay, so what's happening in the Strait of Hormuz? Well, voices are reporting that Middle East oil and energy producers are continuing loading despite recent ship attacks in the Strait of Hormuz. Energy shipping slowed after attacks on a container ship on Thursday and an oil tanker on Saturday. A US official said on Sunday that Washington and Tehran had agreed to halt recent hostilities and resume talks over the waterway. A fourth very large crude carrier was loaded at Saudi Arabia's Ras Tanuna terminal on Monday. Iran has increased oil loadings at Kharg Island after a 60-day US sanctions waiver, and Reuters are reporting that the Gulf accounts for 1/3 of global oil supplies. Meanwhile, in Russia, today's Guardian reports that Ukraine briefing says Putin expects US negotiators in Moscow once Washington's Middle East talks ease. Russia is facing fuel shortages linked to successful Ukrainian strikes on oil infrastructure across the country, in the Caspian Sea, and in the outskirts of Moscow and further into the country. They've got rockets now. They've got drones that can penetrate hundreds and hundreds of miles into Russia. Russia's size is no longer a shield against this onslaught by the Ukrainians who just want Russia to get out of their country. You want to stop that from happening, Russia? Do you want to stop your refineries from being blown up? I tell you what, here's an idea. Why don't you just get your fucking troops out of fucking someone else's country? Do you understand? Get them out of someone else's country. They're in someone else's country. We won't tolerate that. We won't stand for that. Get them out of someone else's country. For fuck's sake. I got a shift. Hospital appointments. Checking me ticker's still there. Catch you later. Take care, Brett Bot. Have a nice trip to the hospital. I hope all is well. There's Siberia has imposed a city in Siberia has imposed a 50-litre daily fuel limit per vehicle at state-run outlets. Ukraine says it's hit 2 Russian oil refineries over the weekend, and Russia and Ukraine have both reported large drone and missile exchanges. Ukraine said it intercepted most of the 142 Russian drones and 8 missiles, which is good that it intercepted them, but some got through, and these missiles kill people. The attacks from the Ukrainians are usually quite targeted towards targets like oil refineries and oil wells and things like that, whereas and the docks, so they can't get the oil onto the ships. Meanwhile, the attacks coming from Russia are just schools, hospitals, people's homes. Anyway, meanwhile, on the Pakistan-Afghan border, things are kicking off. Pakistan says its forces killed at least 29 militants in ground and air operations along the Afghan border. The Afghan Taliban says Pakistani airstrikes killed at least 38 civilians and injured 163. Pakistan says the strikes targeted militant camps in Paktia and Kunar. Paktika and Kunar. Can you give it a more different name? It's very confusing. Afghanistan says the largest casualty incident was a strike on a home in Paktia province, and Pakistan says the operations were in response to recent attacks, including a Karachi attack that killed 3 Rangers personnel. Meanwhile, the Guardian is reporting that women freed from cyber scam compounds in Laos, Myanmar, and Cambodia are increasingly reporting sexual violence. The compounds force trafficked women to run online fraud operations for the likes of Nigel Farage, including pig butchering, crypto scams, which are scams where they get people to essentially fall in love with a woman online and they keep sending money, fatten up this pig, and then they steal all their money. And then we've got recent raids in Cambodia and Myanmar have freed tens of thousands of workers. What was it? And The Guardian has spoken to 6 former female compound workers describing sexual attacks, forced labour, beatings, and a lack of sanitary products. The OHCHR has reported a sharp rise in sexual violence against scam centre victims since 2024. Amnesty International say women now make up nearly half of the 80 survivors that interviewed in the last year for these crypto scams. Obviously, if you hear the word crypto, if I say crypto, I want you to say scams. And then finally, the British American Tobacco has said it will cut 5,500 jobs globally. So, I mean, it's a bad news that people are losing their jobs, but good news that a tobacco giant is shrinking, obviously, and then having to get rid of workers working to give everyone fucking cancer. So yeah. The cuts exclude the United States, because of course they do. And that change affects around 20% of British American Tobacco's global workforce. A further 3,500 roles will move to strategic partners, or you're making vapes or something. And it's part of an AI-driven transformation project. And it's going to expect it to add up to £600 million in annualized savings. They're going to save £600 million by 2028. That's a saving. That's not their profit. Imagine making that level of profit. We're talking billions and billions for making a product that kills people if they use it correctly. Insane. So yeah. Yeah. But yeah, the scammers on the internet. I made a joke about, when this under 16 ban, they were talking about that. I made a joke about maybe they should bring it in for over 60s. And I was half joking, but only half joking, because they're so much more likely to fall for scams. And whereas with kids in school, you can take them aside and, you don't have to take them aside, just tell them in the classroom, have a class on internet scams and being aware of what's a scam and what's not, and teaching them about fake news and AI and all that kind of stuff, how to spot it, how to spot a scam. The over 60s don't get that. They don't get a lesson. There's no one giving them lessons to stay safe online. And so they're like a lamb to the slaughter. Hence, these pig slaughtering, pig butchering cons where it'll be someone pretending to be a woman. Sometimes it is a woman who will contact someone through a dating app or WhatsApp or LinkedIn or whatever, and they'll build the trust in this person over weeks or even months, pretending to be either romantically interested or a successful investor, and they'll take money off them, drain their bank accounts. Often they'll give them an investment opportunity, usually involving crypto, foreign exchange, gold, stocks, or a fake trading platform. And they make these very slick looking apps and websites where it all looks legit. And then they hand over their entire life savings to a scammer. And the scammer goes off and finds somebody else. Yeah. Time to wish the best day available and thank you for the company. It's needed. Thank you. Oh, thank you, Lost Missionary. Take care. Have a good day. There is a such thing as eminent domain in the US. My dad's first job was with BAT. He got out having seen the light. Oh, Mr. Tist, did he see the lighter? There's cigarettes in it. Cigarettes. Why did he leave? Because he saw the lighter. Talking of squeaky tanks, my last story today I want to talk about is Trump's fucking fair. Trump's fair. I mean, this is just... just want to show some pictures of this. Just absolutely appalling state fair that has been put forward by Donald Trump, and it is an absolute unmitigated disaster in every shape, and it's just, it's hilariously awful. I'm just seeing if I can find thousands gathered for the American State Fair. Okay. Trump scrambles to exaggerate pitiful crowd size. Oh my God. Okay, let's have a look. Should we have a look? I'll take you over there. This is from the Wrap. Gotta laugh at this. There you go. That was on June the 26th. The US State Fair. This is to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the founding of the United States of America. Let's have a look at this. I'm just going to make sure that I'm not going to... okay. Here we go. Here's a video for you. I'll put the sound on. There will be sounds. Oh my God.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are Cirque Mechanics. We're all the way from Las Vegas, really excited to be here with the National Endowment for the Arts.
Oh my God.
For the 250th.
Oh my God.
Start it off with
oh my God.
the drum.
Oh dear. Oh dearie, dearie, dearie me. Oh my God. I've got to sing the fucking shit national anthem. They've had 250 years to prepare for this moment. Sorry. Oh my giddy ants. How soul crushing would it be to be playing to a crowd of litter pickers? What are we watching? So, for the 250th anniversary of the founding of the United States of America, Trump has put together the Great State Fair. And basically, it's got these stalls from like each of the 50 states of America. Like each one has a stall, although 8 of them haven't turned up, and no one cares. No one wants to go there. It's just really fucking shit, absolutely awful, and no one's interested, and it's just painful. Cringing out of my mind here. Yeah, Drainy. I bet you are. I cringe so much I put me back out. As a Hill fan, it was deeply moving to see his former FW18 at Goodwood, a stationary display, alas. Is that Damon or Graham? It sounded like Middle Eastern music being played. It did, didn't it? Didn't it? Which makes sense because Saudi Arabia basically owns America and tells them what to do. So if you're a big Trump fan, you love being told what to do by the Saudis, which is nice. Okay, so we'll go over to the papers now. Sorry, we've got to do this. We're gonna have a look at the papers. We've got the Daily Mail, first of all. How you can, full capitals, lose a stone before your summer holiday. Cool. We're gonna lose a stone, man. Yeah. John lost a stone. I had this beautiful engagement ring, this beautiful diamond on it, and it went down the sink and I lost it. I lost the stone. By top nutritionalists, Gabriella Peacock, top nutritionist, apparently, according to the Daily Fail. Top nutritionist, right? Okay, so we have a thing in this country called protected job titles, right? And what it is, you can't call yourself a police officer if you're not a police officer. You can't call yourself a medical doctor unless you're a medical doctor, unless you've got a doctorate, a degree in something. But then you have to make it very clear that you're not saying that your name is Doctor whatever because you are a doctor. Medical doctor is because you've got a doctorate, so you've got a PhD, right? Dietitian is a protected name of a profession. Dietitian. So if you meet someone who is a dietitian, they have had to pay attention in school, get themselves some decent A-levels, study being a dietitian in university, perhaps get a postgrad, I don't know, but they've actually had to do something, right? Come here. Anyone can call themselves a nutritionist. Anyone. Just turn up. So I could say that as my job title. I could say, what do you do? I'm a nutritionist. What qualifications do you have? None. I don't need any. And I'm not saying that we should ignore all nutritionists. I'm sure some people, have a bit of a qualification in it. But I wouldn't necessarily take them too seriously. In the same way that I am getting more and more agitated as someone who is diagnosed with ADHD. Can all the people who keep going online and talking about what ADHD is all about, not because they've studied it, not because they are a trained psychiatrist or psychologist or neurosurgeon, no, because they have ADHD. And so they're talking about their personal experience of ADHD. And they're giving such fucking Burnham statements. They are making every fucker who watches those videos go, oh, sometimes I'm tired in the morning. Maybe I have ADHD. Fuck off. Can you stop doing that? It's really, really not helpful. It's really not helpful. I don't mind if it's you're given a range of this is something that, ADHD people have difficulty with. I'd rather have a video where it says, hey, if you have ADHD and you have trouble doing X, here's a little workaround that works for me. Might not work for you because we're all fucking different. But, it might work for you. Instead of, if you go to a party and sometimes you're life and soul and sometimes you're quite quiet, you might have ADHD. Fuck off. Stop it. You're not helping. Because more and more people are now going for diagnosis of ADHD. Teachers and parents are parents especially, are going, little Timmy's got ADHD. They might not. They've just seen some fucking TikTok videos and they're like, okay, we're going to give them this treatment, which isn't right for little Timmy and costs a fucking fortune. Meanwhile, someone who has serious mental health problems, is having to wait 3 years to get any help whatsoever. And yes, some people are more severe than others. Of course, you have that with anything. People who are more severely depressed than others, people who are more severely autistic than others, or living with autism. But just stop this medicalization of social media, or the social mediaization of medicine, right? Just really, I don't know how you feel about it, because I know there's a few ADHDers who watch this show, and some people who are living with autism who watch this show. I mean, I'm a nutritionist. I cook and eat. That's Sean, yeah. I am, amongst other things, a food taster. Yeah, my order of the day is a fried egg toasty a la Ren. Ooh, nice. And then tonight I'm thinking fish cake and rice, maybe with buttery sweet corn. Oh, that sounds so good. Something low effort but delicious. Oh, buttery sweet corn. Sorry, Ren, I had a bitten hero's nose wing my desk and a font and Mia for people to sit on my desk. I'm a vibes counsellor. I guarantee that Gabriella Peacock. Let's have a look. Should we look her up on the internet? I'm going to look her up. Gabriella. Do you think she went to local comp with a name like Gabriella? Gabriella Peacock. I bet she's a fucking nepo baby of someone. Gabriella Peacock nutrition. She would have been my year in school. Gabriella Peacock. Oh, she spells Gabriella with one L. That's a bit confusing. What school did Gabriella Peacock go to? Question mark. University of Westminster. Never heard of it. Where she earned a BAc in nutritional therapy. Cool. What is the University of Westminster? Can we find out? Education. University of Westminster. And she studied at the College of Neuropathic Medicine. Okay. Nothing given me here. What is the University of Westminster? Is that like a private university? Is that like because I've never even heard of that. I should ask Kat about this. She's across all of higher education. She knows all this stuff. University of Westminster. Okay. It's a public university based in London. It was founded as the Royal Polytechnic Institution and it was the first polytechnic to open in London. Oh, okay. All right, I'll let it off. I thought it was one of those private correspondence universities. But yeah, I'm just kind of interested. Just kind of interested what school she went to, but no, it won't tell me. I'm pretty sure that if the school that she went to was she's very London. I'm pretty sure if the school that she went to was a state school, she'll be bragging about it. Anyway, she wants to tell you how to lose a stone. Do you want me to tell you how to lose a stone? Right? Don't eat. Just literally don't eat. Just think about eating and then not eat. Yeah, I know it's tough, isn't it? Like it's a really difficult thing to do because hunger is painful. Hunger is pain. Yeah, but if you can find the way to not eat, then you'll lose weight. John, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. Trump's state fair is Willy Wonka's chocolate experience on steroids. Yes, it absolutely is. In fact, that was wonderfully satirized by my friend Happy Toast the other day when he posted this picture, which I'm going to show you now in a moment. This is a beautiful thing. I wish you'd made this a bit bigger, Happy Toast. There we go. It's funny because it's true. It's true. It's a bit bad, isn't it? A bit bad. I've noticed people don't have patience for conversations about complex issues. You see their eyes glaze over, says Sean. Yeah, I agree. To be fair, though, I don't have any official qualification in paleontology, barring the fact I've been studying it all my life. I do have qualifications in bricklaying and plastering services, though. Cool. Yeah, but I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think you can call yourself a paleontologist. Sorry, I'll get rid of that. I don't think you can call yourself a paleontologist. Can you? I don't know if that's a protected job title. Maybe you can just call yourself it. But yeah, it is a ridiculous thing that we require qualifications in this shit. I'm losing weight without trying. 8 stone 11 at the moment. Never weighed this low. Don't think I was this light when I was born. Oh God, veg pie. Eat some veggie pies. You shouldn't be that tiny. Don't be that tiny. Not eating can really mess up your stomach. Portion control, small meals often is a little better advice. Yeah, I know. Yeah. That's why I was saying it's not particularly great advice. But if you want to lose weight, just stop eating. So I guess she found out that Andy Burnham was going to be giving a speech. So Kemi Badenoch thought she'd give a speech first. So there she is. My joke about a Trump fair being down to dodgy sausages is unfair. Clearly, there's not enough people there. Do we reckon that MAGA scooter jockey will claim it was still fun? Possibly. I don't know. Tim Beck says Slimming World works for me. 2 stone in 8 weeks, all trying to help my mental health. That's brilliant, Tim Beck. Tim Becks. And yeah, that's a really good point, actually. I would say this about addiction and things like that. Everyone's different. And when someone tells you that this is the way, this is the absolute way that you can lose a stone, this is the absolute way to lose weight, it might have worked for them, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for you because everyone's circumstances are different. Everyone's availability of snacks is different. Everyone's, that there is this huge problem that we have that skinny little rips run around going, it's all about willpower. It's all about willpower. Actually, it's all about willpower. But it's not, because they have a different metabolism. Clearly, they don't get as hungry, or when they eat, it just doesn't, turn into fat so much. And also, you get a lot of people who can afford to eat more rich people's food. Not to say rich food, but rich people's food. And time to go and make themselves a salad, or to make a really nice, vegetarian meal that takes an hour to put together. Yeah, they've got the time and the patience and the money to do that. The free time to do that. Most of us don't. A lot of us, it is just, trying to feed the kids every single fucking night of the week. It's just, oh my God, what are we going to do? You got to plan out what you're going to fucking feed them. Quickly put some brown stuff in the fucking oven. Oh, not that brown stuff. Oh, it stinks. I just don't eat chocolate. Go straight on my hips, says Sean. As my mum says, you need a bit of fat in case you're ill. Spare wheel. Amateur paleontologists have been a thing for over 2 centuries. I just never got the opportunity to go to uni, Graham. Yeah, I appreciate that one, Angry Pagan. I'm not putting you down. I'm saying that, it is a thing where it does seem ridiculous to me that, considering all of your studies, you can't just sit an exam and get the qualification. Do you know what I mean? Like, why don't we have a system where I can do that? We say, well, I've been studying this for the last fucking 30 years. Okay, doing the exam in it. Okay, now you got the qualification. You got to go to uni. You got to sit down at lectures and be told things that you already know. Yeah, and also you got to pay £36,000 for the privilege. On stomachs, if a guinea pig stops eating 6 to 8 hours, their stomach shuts down. It equals eventual death, which is why they constantly eat and have short sleeps. If a vet says one is overweight, ignore. Okay, fair enough. Moderation and eat what works for me, plus no alcohol. Yeah, alcohol's a big factor in getting fat. And one of the reasons why isn't because of the alcohol itself. It's not because of the content of the alcoholic drink necessarily. It's more to do with the fact that it's 2 o'clock in the morning and you eat you eat a kebab on the way home, or a pizza. If I had a spare million, I'd pay for you to study your heart's content. Yeah. No one died of moderation. True. Okay, so let's go on to Emma Raducanu there, who's there's a picture of her, because she's not going to be playing at Wimbledon. She's not going to be doing something. I wish to put a picture of me on the front page of the news at some point. Like this. I could be like this. And it could say something like, Graham didn't watch Neighbours today. And I'd be like, oh my God, he's on the front cover because of the thing he didn't do. He didn't do that thing today. Cool. Well, there she is. She's on the front cover of the newspaper telling you that she's not doing Wimbledon. Not that she won Wimbledon. Not that she came close to winning Wimbledon. She's literally not going to be in Wimbledon. So this is on the front page. Messiah without a mandate. Tax raids on middle classes in Burnham's 10-year plan. Would-be PM to unveil left-wing mission. Andy Burnham will today set out his left-wing plan for a decade in power after he plots a tax raid on middle-class Southerners. Okay, Daily Mail. Okay, whatever. Wimbledon begins today. Your essential 12-page guide. There's a picture of someone there with their mouth open. That would, if I could draw on here, that would definitely get a cock. I'll draw a little sort of cock with a biro here, right? And then this guy is even better. Look, because he's got his fist clenched. So I'll draw a cock like that, and then I'll have the balls sticking at the bottom here. That's what I'll do. I want to know why LBC won't give me a job. Anyway, public to decide asylum appeals as Mahmoud jettisoned judges. Members of the public will replace judges in deciding asylum appeals under reforms to speed up deportation of illegal immigrants or illegal migrants. Burnham, I want mayors to help cut benefits bill. PM in waiting will vow to lift Britain back up, which is a positive story, but obviously they spun it as a negative story in the fail. Church is told its ableism is harmful to meek priests. The pressure on vicars to be loud and showy is making life difficult for neurodivergent priests. The Church of England has been told. Cool. And then Ben Stokes, who's a ginge, and he's not going to be knocking his balls around anymore. He's decided he's knocked enough balls around and he's not going to knock any more balls around for England. And he did it in the middle of a test match against New Zealand, which is a bit weird on timing, but there you go. And then we have the great American heroes. There we have Harry Kane, who over the weekend scored a goal, which made against Panama, which makes him the highest goal scorer in World Cups from any British player or any English player. I should say. Actually, it's any British player, but he's gone one ahead of Gary Lineker. Gary Lineker's score that has of 10 that has stood since Italia 90. Kev C 51. I'm 44 minutes late. Very interested in the HR film. Welcome to Human Resources. Yeah, we could just do it as a little short where you go in and you buy more body parts and then someone gets addicted. You know, you get addicted to getting tattoos. So it's a bit of an allegory about that. And he ends up getting a new head, which is probably a bit of a rip-off of an old Future Shock comic from 2000 AD, which I always love. They always stuck in my head, this one. And it was someone who was gambling their body parts away. And in the end, they were just literally ahead, and they were given the chance, double or nothing. And because he was so addicted, he went, okay, then. And then they used his head to put a different brain in it or something. And the moral of the story is, quit while you're ahead. Sorry, I just always tickled me. Because he'd bet all of his body parts and all that was left with his head, and then he kept on gambling. Okay. All right, moving on. We've got Ben Stokes there. Great innings. Stokes ends England career. It's far too early. Do you know what I mean? And Harry Kane there set sights on Congo. There's going to be lots of Congo puns, I'm sure, in the next few days in the papers. And there's the Princess of Wales, Catherine, there, privately educated, of course. And she's walked to the top of Ben Nevis. You know what? Good on you. Good on you, Kate. I don't hate the royal family. Well, I don't have time for Prince, the Andrew formerly known as Prince. But the rest of them are all right, But she's sort of recovered from cancer, and she's climbed to the top of Britain's highest mountain to raise money for cancer. Okay, cool. She's on the Free Peak charity trek. She hiked 23 miles and climbed 3,064 meters for the Free Peaks Challenge. It comes after her own cancer battle. So she's raised money for cancer. Okay, that's a nice thing. I don't think it should be front page fucking news. But okay, fair enough. Whatever. We can't forget what Kate looks like. She's not a bad looking woman. So, I'd rather have a picture of her on the front cover of a newspaper than Nigel Farage. Ben Stokes there with his mouth wide open, ready for me to draw. I'm going to have to set this up, aren't I? I'm going to have to draw something so I can draw like Magenta Cox on the screen here. There must be a way of doing it because his mouth is wide open, just waiting to receive. And then we've got maddening waste of £1.25 million of taxpayers' money. The doomed defense of a trans-identifying man's rights. A trans woman, you mean? Against female nurses could hit taxpayers with a 7-figure sum. Hey, listen, the Express, come here. Go fuck yourself to unalivement. Go on, keep fucking yourself to the edge of the universe and then fuck yourself some more. Fucking Express. Maybe if you weren't waging war against trans people, there wouldn't be so much money wrapped up in litigation in the court system to try and defend trans people from being, treated like shit by the likes of the Daily Mail and the Daily Express. Meanwhile, we see the princess there again with her sticks. She's got a couple of sticks. What did she do with those sticks? I don't know. And then we've got three lions, do, come on and do the Congo. Okay, you see that's a pun on conga from the funny little dance we used to do in the 1980s. At all the swinger parties. My stepdad was violent on alcohol, especially whiskey. You could see him turn. Yeah, I'm not a violent drunk. I never get into fights. I kind of just fall asleep usually. But yeah, I know people who have been like that, who've got very, very, very unreasonable on alcohol. Let's put it that way, and it is horrific for everyone around. Wronged person is compensated, says Draney. Yeah, that's the story there. Wronged person is compensated. That's 1.7 pence a person. Yeah. What? No, it's not. It's not even that. If the population of the country is 70 million, it's not even a penny, is it? Is it? Oh no, it will be. Hang on, I'm thinking of pounds. I'm a happy drunk, says Sean. Oh, good. I'm glad you're a happy drunk. I'm usually happy. I just want to dance and then I fall asleep. Gulf strikes. US and Iran imperil truce. We've got Burnham sets out 10-year mission to raise living standards nationwide, which will be carrying in a few minutes' time, I think, depending on what time he decides he's going to do this. Policy pitch by PM in waiting. Echoes of Starmer and Johnson. Bid to balance northern emphasis. Andy Burnham will today pledge to deliver good growth in every postcode of the UK, using his first major speech as probable Prime Minister in waiting to set out ambitions for a decade of Labour government. Good. Do it. Be bold. And that's what we need. We need fucking boldness, Briefing here. Top Ocado shareholders mount defence of Steiner. Don't know what that means. It's Quake death toll mounts. So I mentioned that for 1,430. 1,430 people have died so far, and there's still tens of thousands missing. It's a real grim situation. Heathrow plans doubted. The head of the airline alliance that includes Lufthansa and United has urged the airport to cut back part of its eye-watering project to build a third runway. Oh my word. Apple seeks banned chips. The US tech group has lobbied the Trump administration for clearance to buy memory chip from a Chinese group that the Pentagon has blacklisted. Hey, the Americans, they sorted something out so that they wouldn't have to pay. They wouldn't allow the Chinese to get hold of their top-end AI stuff, right? The Chinese have developed their own, and it's just as good. So that happened. Airlines fear carbon cost. Long-haul airlines are braced with billions of dollars in extra costs as a looming shortage of carbon credits threatens to drive up prices. Ankara readies for NATO. Security preparations for the July 7 to 8 summit have been stepped up with media curbs and assemblies and demonstrations banned. No, not really surprising in Turkey, where they have quite a they have a dictator, don't they? He's not really into free and fair elections. Then we've got German car job worries. Manufacturers' announcements of jobs calls amid rising Chinese competition have increased fears that the backbone of the the backbone of the biggest European economy could be permanently damaged. Then we've got call to halt Russia gas ban. The EU should delay its 2027 ban on Russian liquefied natural gas or risk becoming overdependent on the US. The port of Bilbao, one of Europe's main import hubs for the fuel, has warned. Then we've got AI spending spree risks investment bust that threatens global economy. Big tech's AI spending spree risks ending in a prolonged investment bust that could rattle financial markets and damage the global economy. The Bank for International Settlements has warned. Yes, that's absolutely what is 100% absolutely. That is absolutely going to fucking absolutely happen. Like, it is just inevitable. Hartlepool backs reform despite regeneration cash. The former Labour stronghold of Hartlepool has received more national regeneration funding per head than anywhere else in England in the last 10 years since the Brexit referendum. Successive governments have sought to respond to many Leavers' views that the North and the Midlands have been left behind by the economic political mainstream. Despite that, the town backed refuck in May's elections, a trend in the former red wall, something that we hope that Andy Burnham can reverse. Over to the I newspaper now. We've got Burnham vows to lift Britain back up with biggest ever power transfer. In a key leadership speech today, he warns that 10 years, it'll take 10 years to reset the UK. Labour frontrunner to replace Starmer says there must be a change in how Britain is governed and wants power pushed out of Whitehall to regions and local communities. Burnham sets out vision of good growth in every postcode. I'm not liking that expression. I'm not liking that expression. Number 10, a bigger navy. We need more drones. I said that months ago. I said we don't need a bigger navy. We don't need fucking aircraft carriers. We need drones. The future of warfare is drones. It's not having a big battleship and turning up with fucking cannons and shooting the ship next to you. That's ancient fucking history. It's drones. It's absolutely drones, and that's where we need to be putting the money in. Replacement warships axed from defence plan as tactics evolved. Billions to be spent on high-tech kit to combat Moscow threat. Absolutely. Plans to revamp the Royal Navy's ageing fleet have been scrapped in favour of spending billions on drones to modernise the military. A blueprint to future-proof our armed forces will be unveiled by Keir Starmer and said to have been signed off by his likely successor, Andy Burnham. So there you go. Next up, we've got The Guardian. We've got Erin Brockovich on her new battle with data centres, which is fun. And then we've got Staying Out for the Summer, Britain's festival fixation up there. Staying Out for the Summer, a small hit for Dodgy back in 1995. Alarm raised over a growing role of private equity firms. Government's 24.4 billion contracts part of financial pandemic. And then we've got Over and Out, Ben Stokes' retirement announced mid-match. We've also got Burnham set to promise growth in all postcodes. And we've got US and Iranian strikes threaten fragile peace, something that we talked about earlier over the weekend. Now we've got this ridiculous paper, this fucking rag of a paper, the Daily Telegraph, which just talks bollocks all the time. It's like a sniper that uses bollocks for ammunition, to paraphrase our friend Tim Minchin. Raducanu is ready. I'll play through the pain. No, she won't. She said she won't. So that was old news. You're wrong. So there you go. That's the first wrong thing. There you go. And then second thing is a sleep divorce saved our marriage, which is where I assume married couples don't sleep with each other because usually the man makes too much noise or sweats too much or farts too much or something. I don't know. Now, for me, honestly, if you're not sleeping in the same room as each other, I think that's it. I think that's the point where you gotta go. We need to find, partners who like to sweat and fart and snore just as much as I do. That's my take on it. I think if you're sleeping in separate bedrooms, then your relationship is circling the drain. Who am I to know? You've got to find out what works for you. I keep saying everyone's different, and if you want to, live in a separate house to your husband, like Frida Kahlo did over in Mexico, and she had a little bridge between the two houses, and that works for you. It works for you. Awesome. Who am I to diss it? I do think it's just a bit of a little warning signal, sleeping in separate bedrooms. Anyway, moving on. We've got Burnham, give me 10 years to fix Britain. Incoming Prime Minister sets out a stall to boost economy through devolution. And it's a good idea to give it a 10-year plan because that makes people think, well, he hasn't finished it yet. That's a really good response that we can use when you say, well, how come Labour haven't done this yet? And you go, well, because it's a 10-year plan. Something that, Starmer should have really got onto. Starlin was way all over his 5-year plans. He loved his 5-year plans. He had about 27 fucking 5-year plans. Go for the 5-year plan. We've got Stokes here, bowing out with his big ginger beard. Almost 20,000 foreign criminals avoid deportation. Shabana Mahmood has pledged to ramp up the detention of illegal migrants as the number of foreign criminals avoiding deportations hit a record of almost 20,000. This is probably bollocks. There's probably the Telegraph manipulating the data as usual. Rail bosses vetoed extra signals near crash site. That's not a good story, is it? Starmer refuses to fly the flag for England. Keir Starmer has failed to fly the cross of St. George outside number 10 for the World Cup. You do know that the United Kingdom is made up of 4 constituent parts, and each has its own flag. And Scotland was in this tournament. So if you fly the flag of England outside number 10, it's a bit of a fuck you to Scotland, isn't it? Do you want to think through what you're saying here before you fucking say it? Now, look, all things being equal, if England make it through to the final, they won't. Then maybe there is a good reason to just put up an England flag at that point. But here we are. We're in the round of 27. We've got an easy match, I hope, against DRC, the Democratic Republic of Congo, on Wednesday. If we win that, we probably will, but if we do win that, we've got ahead of us? We've got like Mexico, and then Portugal, and then fucking Brazil, and then a final with fucking Germany. So good luck with that. Good luck with that. He didn't say when the 10 years will start. The press transphobia has kind of caught me unprepared. It's not my mood. I'm sorry, Gallifrey and Ren. I didn't have a look at the papers before I started reading them, and I should have done to avoid that fucking transphobic shite on the front of the Express newspaper. More peddling fucking evilness. More peddling evil. What are you doing today? Mr. Person works for the Express. I'm peddling evil. But they write with a black feather. Sean says, a gay man, I felt it too, so I understand. Yeah. Draney says, normally is. I work with one of the law teams. I've deleted that, sorry. I will strike that from the record. Elle says, my dad was a bully. My stepdad was a bully. My older brother was a bully. They all died. No more bullies. Now I can relax. Oh, the TERFs. Fucking tag team. Yeah. The thing is, I keep saying this, but it's true. The TERFs can't win. They can't win. They can never win. You wipe out all the Caribs in the Caribbean with smallpox and cannonballs, there's going to be no more Caribs. You wipe out all the Jewish people on the planet, like Hitler wants to do, there'll be no more Jews. You know, that's it. It's gone. You wipe out all of the trans people on the planet, put them in a submarine, send them down to the fucking Titanic or something, right? Like what these transphobic nutters want to do. There will still be trans people. There'll be more trans people. Every generation, more trans people. You're never, ever, ever going to get rid of trans people. No matter what they do, there will always be trans people. And it's just like trying to get rid of all the gay people. There will always be gay people. Always. Always. They might not be able to win, but every trans life they snuff out is one too many. Absolutely, Gallifreyan men. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the levels of people taking themselves out in the trans community is absolutely horrifying. That should be the front page news. But of course it's not, because all these newspapers are written by TERFs. Even The Guardian is fucking way TERFy. People writing for it are TERFy. And that's to do with the cunning conflation of feminism with transphobia, which is what the right wing put together. They went, how can we get people on the left to feel like, they should be on the same side as us, demonizing trans people, and make them still feel like they're good people, Well, that's how they do it. NHS hospital to defy trans guidance. Good. 5 nurses killed in skydive plane crash. Yeah. I did that news story there. I'm going to read it out, but again, they don't refer to trans women. They use a really fucking transphobic slur, and it is just that's the Daily Telegraph and the Express use the same slur. Sorry, I didn't mean to bring that back up. Which is just it's just horrific. It's absolutely horrific, and it's so sad that we are living through this time where these scumbags, these absolute scumbags, are allowed to write what they want as transphobic as shit, without any pushback. Where's the equality law now? Where's the equality law supposedly protecting trans people from these slurs that are appearing on the front of newspapers, using terms that are discriminatory? You know, what can they say that about people from Pakistan? Can they use terms that are not accepted for people from Pakistan? Can they do that against people who are black? Can they use terms that are not accepted to describe black people? No, they fucking can't. That would be illegal. So why isn't it for trans people? Why is that the only group in society where it's like, yeah, it's fine. It's fine. And I get told that I go on about trans people too much. Fuck off. I don't go on about trans people enough. No one else is fucking doing it. I wish this channel was bigger so we could get the message out to more people. Tell your friends. You mean that the equality law, that the Supreme Court and the Inequalities and Human Wrongs Commission doesn't cover us? Well, it does actually. It does in the law, but not in practice for some reason. So yeah, I'm just on the BBC site at the moment, checking out when it's going to actually, when Andy Burnham's going to come and speak. I'm not getting a watch live option at the moment. I'm guessing I will at some point get a watch live, but I'm just going to keep an eye on the TV behind me there. Look at that. They've just started the 11 o'clock, right? And it's actually 11 and 1 minute and 30 seconds before they get started. If I'm that late, I get into trouble. Conservative mindsets can never truly win because of evolution. I truly believe this. Yeah, I agree. I agree. They cannot win. And education is always key. Yeah. I mean, you look at who's transphobic, and it is not the younger generations. Generally speaking, it's not the younger generations. It's the older generation because they don't know anyone who's trans. Younger people have gone to school with buddies who are trans. I didn't go to school with anyone who's trans because you wouldn't have been able to be trans because of Section 28. It didn't just cover gay people and lesbians and bisexuals. It covered trans people as well. You couldn't talk about it. You couldn't say that, talk about healthy relationships. You couldn't include gay couples in that. And now we're going back. We're slipping backwards. Sky saying 11:30 for Andy. Okay. I have Sky News on in the background. I'm keeping my eye out for it. Well, we're going to get a bumper show. We need 3 more super chats and we can do the old... I can press the Boba Fetty button. I've got the Boba Fetty button ready to press on my little stream deck thing here. Don't make me press... No, do make me press the button. I should make a button that says press me on it. Or how about impress me? Like, to be impressed by something. Yeah, maybe I should just go over now and start writing, finish off chapter 10 of Top of the World, the sequel to Man of the World. I'm talking about at the moment in Top of the World. I'm talking about when I went to Libya. I was quite lucky that Britain wasn't part of the Schengen area. Because at the time, and I've got a writer all about this, the guy in charge, this was in February 2010, the guy in charge is a guy called Muammar Gaddafi, Colonel Gaddafi, sorry, not General. Why did he never promote himself? Never understood that. Why did he stay as a colonel? Why didn't he make himself a general? General Gaddafi? They got a good little bit of alliteration there. Why did Colonel Sanders never call himself General Sanders? General Sanders, Kentucky Fried Chicken? I don't even think he was a proper colonel. Anyway, so there was this nutter, this sadistic, murderous, gobshite, corrupt fucker called Muammar Gaddafi, and he was in charge, wasn't he, of Libya at the time. And they say the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Well, I say the shit doesn't fall far from the arse. And one of his grown children, this lad, I've forgotten his name, Uday, I think his name was, or something like that. Was that Saddam Hussein's kid? I don't know. Anyway, this little fucking gobshite was in Switzerland, probably just going into a bank and scribbling money away or something. And he beat up a woman so much so that she ended up in hospital. And as a result of that, Switzerland banned him from going to Switzerland, banned the son of Gaddafi from going into Switzerland. In response, Gaddafi banned any Swiss people from coming to Libya. But that didn't work very well because of the Schengen area. And he realized that in order to make sure that no one from anywhere in Switzerland who were Swiss, who might have like an Italian passport or a French passport or a German passport, he wanted to make definitely sure that no Swiss people who had like maybe 2 passports or something like that could possibly get into Libya. So he banned people and companies from going to Libya or trading with Libya because his son was done for committing a crime in another country. Spat his dummy right out the pram, which was really bad news for people living in Libya. Now, I will talk about this in the chat, but one of the reasons why people were so, angry at Gaddafi, don't forget, he died about 18 months later after doing this, because he died at the end of 2011, so what would it have been, October 2011? So it would have been about 18 months after I was trying to get into the country. And I was allowed in because I wasn't part of Schengen. If I had been from France or Germany, I wouldn't have got into Libya. I would have had to wait until, he was beaten to death at the side of the road. One of the reasons why he didn't have any money to pay for his fucking mercenaries to come and fight on his behalf. He couldn't pay his own army to fight on his behalf and keep him in power. This because he severed his ties with all of these companies and all these individuals, especially in places like Italy, because Libya was an Italian colony and there's still a lot of links there. He said, you can't come here anymore. So I was there at the end of February 2010. And this was right in the start of the downfall of Gaddafi, because he got his nose out of joint. His son committed a crime, beat up a woman, and faced consequences for it. And because of those consequences that his son did from committing a crime, Gaddafi ended up getting beaten to death at the side of the road because he couldn't afford to pay his army to protect him or pay mercenaries to come up from Chad to protect him. Law of unintended consequences, my friends. That's one of the reasons why I think that the future is quite rosy for Trump. Not for him personally, but for us. Because he's putting down some things now that are going to have ramifications down the line. And we don't know where it's going to go. No one can predict what's going to happen next. But when Doctor Strange looks at all the different possible permutations of the future and he comes up with 14 million of them, but only one works, right? With Trump, it's the other way around. There's like 14 million different ways that he could be taken out by, not out of politics, out of politics, or, not necessarily taken out, but, one way or another. One way or another, my friends. Jenny Davis, thank you very much for the £2 super chat. Why can't people just let others live in peace? Jenny, I could not agree more with you, Jenny. Jenny, absolutely. Seriously, I can't agree more with what you just written there. Why can't people just let others live in peace? I mean, I could tell you, because people are just bored and they're sadistic and they just want other people to be doing worse than they are so they feel better about themselves and their miserable little lives. But, the people who change the world for the better, not just changing the world for the sake of it, but change it for the better, they have got love in their hearts. They're trying to help. They're trying to, do good things. And the good news is that the vast majority of people are like that. The minority, they're very vocal. They're very powerful. They're very rich, but they are in a minority. And one day, maybe we're going to wake up and realize that we are 93% of the population and they're only 7%. And, straight up fight. We can fucking take them down and, pop them open and see if any money comes out. Bayoneted up the backside, says Draney. Badenoch, Burnham needs to act as a leader. He's already doing better than you, love. Is this what she's saying? Is she still talking? She doesn't want to take... She's trying to get the march. She's trying to steal the march here. Please don't that pun out of the KFC man. Please don't that the pun of the KFC man. or Colonel Gaddafi, Colonel Sanders. Both of them weren't real colonels. They just said they were colonels. Maybe colonel isn't a protected job title. You can just call yourself a colonel. Isn't it ironic though that like fried chicken, which was an African American staple, was picked up by fucking some white guy, and he made all the money out of it, like rock and roll. You know, the black staple, and black music, and then Whitey comes along and then makes all the money, fucks over all the black artists. It's always the way, isn't it? And then we made Back to the Future, in which Marty McFly went back in time and created rock and roll for Chuck Berry. And Chuck Berry actually stole the idea of rock and roll off a white kid. And the Colonel of Breakfast. Breakfast at Champions. Badenoch, Burnham needs to act as leader. I've read that one. Kemi is apparently saying that Britain is in for a summer of chaos under Burnham. Fucking typical. Yeah. Gallifreyan Ren, does the EHRC guidance come online this week? Have I got my weeks mixed up? Yeah, I think it's scheduled for this week. I think it's the 1st of July. I'll have to check on that. But I don't know. I just can't see how it's applicable. And I think that we need to get together, big gang of us, right? And start suing the fuck out of everyone. Just start like sending off, like on July the 1st, start sending letters off to every company in the country saying we're taking you to court for discrimination. We're taking you to court for discrimination because you did not provide me with a safe place for me to go and piss. That'll put the fucking cat amongst the pigeons, because all these companies will be like, well, we can't be dealing with all these claims. We can't be dealing with all these claims all the time. And what are they going to do? Make them go away? Are they going to fight them in court? It's going to cost a fucking fortune to fight them. Even if they won them all, it would cost them a fucking fortune. Did Colonel Sanders even exist? I don't know. I don't know. He's now got little mandibles that come out of his cheeks. Farage and refuck Colonel run away and his cowardly private. Well, yeah. So I think we should do this. I think we should definitely make a concerted effort together. Any trans people who are watching this, to start writing. You know, do we know any lawyers? Do we know anyone who's a lawyer? If we can find a trans lawyer, that would be really fucking helpful. But unfortunately, trans people are underrepresented in everything in this fucking country. But yeah, maybe the Good Law Project could start doing it, taking on court cases for trans people who feel like they've been discriminated against under the Equality Act because they were not given a safe space for them to go for a shit. New guidance starts on July the 9th, so it's next weekend. Pete says, I bought some microwave popcorn. I opened the bag and it was full of small plastic balls. They weren't real kernels. I'm sorry. So they weren't real kernel. I don't get it. They weren't real. I'm sorry. I don't get it, Pete. Sorry. I know it's a terrible joke, but I don't even get the terrible joke. Yeah. Thanks very much, Jenny, for that super chat, by the way. Okay, so we've got about 15 minutes before Starmer's replacement, Burnham starts talking. I brought some microwave popcorn. I opened the bag and it was. I've read that one. I'm going to go over to. Let's go over to the news. Let's go over to this. Let's see what the Guardian's telling us today. Let's go through some of the news stories here. We've got Venezuela in critical hours to find earthquake survivors. We've got pause HS2 reset until you're confident it can be delivered. NAO tells ministers. Increasing leave to remain. Time frame for UK care workers. Cruel, say campaigners. It absolutely is. I think it's cruel for anyone. I just don't see why you have to wait 10 years to get indefinite leave to remain. Especially as fucking dickhead bloody Farage wants to get rid of it. Wimbledon 2026. Just starting, I guess. Started. Day one. Yeah, okay, started this week. 2 weeks at the end of June. One person a week in England dies with undiagnosed TB, tuberculosis. Study finds. Bloody hell. White working class children failed by England's school system. Inquiry finds. That's red meat for the racists, isn't it? And World Cup 2026 reactions to Canada's win plus build up to Brazil versus Japan. Holidaymakers warned over social media scams for fake accommodation. Research suggests travel scams are on the rise as experts advise doing some detective work to make sure holidays are real. Yeah, absolutely. Good for business or profit at any cost. The controversial side of private equity. The use of private equity in essential services is attracting scrutiny. Here we examine some of its more contentious elements. Should we get into this? I think this is a good thing to talk about when it comes to private equity. They've done one of these. They've done one of these things where it's all it's like an animation when you go through the I'm not going through this like the animation. Just fucking let's see if I can just do this. Where are we here? I'm meeting my MP on the 2nd. Truly dread the guidance effect on hospitals. Simply, I am biological, not an android, and I am a woman. Yes, you are a woman. And like when these gobshites have this shit gotcha of like what's a woman, I wish they would just, everyone who's asked that, just turn it on them and then just say, well, what do you think a woman is? Because they've got no answer. They've got no answer for that. Okay. New guidance will officially be ignored from 9th of July then. I'm not complying and they can't police it, says Al. Well, I think one of the things that we can do is we can look at places that are not giving facilities for trans people and then taking them to court. Simple as that. Go for the big ones. Go for Starbucks and for Costa, McDonald's, KFC. I went to the toilet and there was no provision. Black Dog Barking. Thank you very much for the £2 super chat. That is very kind of you. They're already ignoring it at the NHS trust the other half works for. Yeah, Simon, they were saying that on the front cover of the fucking Telegraph, being fucking horrifically transphobic. But yeah, so looking at this piece in The Guardian here about private equity. So it's kind of explaining how private equity ownership affects essential services. And it uses a fictional UK vet practice as the example. It focused on 3 controversial private equity practices. One is debt-funded takeovers, one is cost-cutting, and the other is short-term ownership. In a leveraged buyout, the private equity firm may contribute only a small share of the purchase price, while the company being bought takes on much of the debt. So the private equity firm only it buys something for a song, and then it doesn't take on the debt that it should do. The company being bought takes on the debt in that respect. In the example that they give, a £10 million vet practice is funded with £250,000 from private equity, 4.75 million from investors, and 5 million borrowed from a bank. The debt is then repaid from the vet practice's own cash flow, meaning that the business partly pays for its own takeover. We see this time and time again. Hostile takeovers happens all the time in America. Critics say this can strain the company's finances before any operational changes are made. So they've only given like $500,000. They've bought this thing that's worth 10 million. They've taken on 5 million in debt from the bank, but that debt is being paid off by the business, not by the people putting the equity in, and only a tiny amount, only 10% of it's come from, less than 10%, 5% has come from private enterprise, from private equity. So yeah, so as critics say, this strain the company's finances before any operational changes are made. And the article says that private equity-backed vet groups may keep the local branding, so customers may not realise that the ownership has changed. And cost-cutting can include non-clinical staff using cheaper supplies, cutting less profitable services, such as 24-hour care, or raising prices, vet bills in Britain rose by 60% between 2015 and 2023. Rose by 60%. And the CMA found private equity-owned vet groups were among large groups charging on average 18% more than independent practices. Private equity firms also buy up many practices in one area, and there's a roll-up, making it difficult for customers to shop around. If your animal is, if your pet is in a bad way, you don't want to be driving it 100 miles to go somewhere a bit cheaper than going down the road. Apparently 44% of small animal practices, vets, are owned by private equity. Private equity firms usually sell businesses after several years. Typical ownership lasts for 4-7 years, and they sell it at a fucking massive markup. So the business pays off the debt, they make loads of money. When the private equity exits, the business may be still saddled with fuckloads of debt, higher prices, and reduced service quality. Private equity's defenders says it brings capital, expertise, professional management, and growth and efficiencies of scale. But no, the veterinary sector may need stronger regulation, because individual veterinary professionals are regulated, but the businesses employing them are not. The central question is raised about whether private equity is appropriate in any care-based sector, whether that is hospitals or hospices or nursing homes, or at the vets, where financial incentives may conflict with public trust and animal welfare, or human rights, human welfare. Black Dog Barking, thank you very much for the £2 super chat. And Drainy, thank you so much for the £2 super chat. It's very kind of you, and it allows me to press the magic new Boba Fetty button, which I'm going to do now. So 3, 2, 1. Boba Fetty! I'm Boba Fetty. I'm Boba Fetty. Getting rather sweaty with Boba Fetty. Woo! There you go. Thank you very much. Thank you for the Boba Fetty you set off. That is very exciting and kind of you. We have very few private vets here now. A friend on the M25 travels to Warrington to visit one. Cool. Right, so I'm going to just set the timer again, because obviously we're going to be going for another half an hour. I'm going to set the cannon up again. So we're going to be going for some sort of fetty. So it's up to you. You can make the decision. If you're dropping in the super chat, you can make the decision. We'll be democratic about it, as long as you pay me. Nigel Farage style democracy. And you can have a vote whether it should be Boba Fetty or Confetti. Penelope Keith has died. Oh, that's sad. From The Good Life. We liked her. She was all right. She wasn't a Tory, was she? We're going to find out some awful things about Penelope Keith now. Oh dear. Penelope Keith. She was known for the role in the British sitcoms The Good Life and To the Manor Born. Oh dear. Oh, well, that's sad. Oh, wow, she grew up in Clacton. Jesus. She was sent to a Catholic convent boarding school run by French nuns. Oh, wow. I don't know if that was a private school, but it just says a convent boarding school. Boarding schools are usually private, aren't they? It is. She was a nice lady when I met her. Yeah. And you know what? The Good Life. I know Vivian from the Young Ones didn't like it, but it was amusing, wasn't it? It was amusing. Yeah. So, where was I? I'm just having a look at other messages coming up. Oh my god. They've drained the swamp. They've drained it. Have they drained it? They drained the flexion pool. Has it been drained again? Jesus. Cool. She was the High Sheriff of Surrey. Oh, that's cool. Regular Confetti and the odd Boba Fetty, says Al. What's the plan? Me, doctors, at past, we're going to have Andy Burnham coming out on the stage there, I guess, to tell us what the plans are for Yes, we've got a watch live thing now. We can watch him live. So if I pop over here, there we go. We can watch him live. We're just waiting on him turning up here in what looks like an old Victorian swimming pool. What is this? Is Victoria Baths? Is he in Victoria Baths? Is that where he is? Is that where he's transmitting from? Let us know in the chat. Oh, we didn't burn him. We didn't burn him. Worst speech today. Okay, where? No, no one's telling us. If anyone can find out with better Googling skills than me, that looks to me like Victoria Baths in Manchester, but I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. It was horrible. Couldn't sleep for a week. It's the People's History Museum. Oh, okay, fair enough. Old Victorian tiling on the walls there. Very, very Manchester, innit? Very Manchester. Manchester. Wank, wank, wank. Yeah. I'm telling Heavenly Felicity Kendall left now. Seen her in a couple of plays recently. Oh, she's very good at what role she played. They were basically the same character. Yeah, but you know. What you know. So I'm gonna maybe listen in here to the BBC. Nothing happened at the moment. That's a bit weird, isn't it? Did I turn the sound off? Have I turned the sound off? I don't know. I'm not getting any sound. I was getting sound a minute ago. Why are you not giving me sounds? There's no reason. It's just that's the way it is. I guess they're just this is just a feed from the speech, so it doesn't necessarily have the voiceover saying, "Now we're waiting for Prince Charles to take his position in between his mistress's legs," and as we see the royal concourse coming up the avenue. Oh, there's Kim McGuinness. Oh, you can't see her because she's slightly off camera. Hang on a sec. Hang on a second. Look, it's Kim McGuinness. There, that's Kim McGuinness. She just sat down. That's my Metro Mayor, Kim. Good mate of mine, obviously. Yeah, I need to move this back to where it was. Oh God, stop moving the other things, Graham. Andy Burnham. We didn't burn him. Speech coming up at 11:30, so we've got 3 minutes. No sound, they must be in a library. It's the People's History Museum, Graham. Oh, cool. Thank you very much, GM. Lovely. It's very, very kind of you. Did anyone ever go to the Ship Museum in Manchester? Do you remember was it called Urbis? Urbis. It was the Museum of Urban Life. Did anyone go to this? It's now the Footy Museum or something. It's that wedge-shaped building, that horrible wedge-shaped building by Victoria Station in Manchester. It used to be called, I think it was called Urbis or something. I had a shit name. It had a name like you would give to student accommodation somewhere. And I went in once and God, it was shit. It was the shittest museum I've ever been to in my entire life. They literally had a pelican crossing in the museum. To get across the road from the print works to the museum, you had to use a pelican crossing. And you came in and it was like, this is a pelican crossing. And you press the button and the little red man turned up and then it changed to the little green man and it flashed. Yay! I'm just like, what is even happening here? Urbis is a lovely building. Okay. I thought it was going to be a ski slope. Like a wedge-shaped building. It was going to be a ski slope. Footy museum dear and not free to locals. That's a bit shit. Oh dear. That's what I say. Oh dear. Veg Pie, she's changed her face. What? My nephew works at the Science and History Museum in Manchester. He's a very clever fella. Is that the one that used to be the old terminus for the train from Liverpool? Is that the Science and Technology place. That was great. The train line's been severed now though by the new spur, the Odal spur. We're getting some quiet, very quiet sound.
This is BBC News. We are taking you to Manchester because we are expecting to see Andy Burnham give his first major policy speech there. Let me just show you the live pictures that we're getting at the moment because the audience is waiting to hear from them. That is Bev Craig, I believe, who is a candidate potentially for the mayor of Manchester. That, of course, is becoming vacant.
Okay.
As Andy Burnham
I'm going to leave you in the capable hands of the BBC for just one moment. I'll be back. I'm just going to get something to eat because I'm starving.
Prime Minister. If there's no
starving, Marvin.
Time watching these pictures as we wait to see Andy Burnham take to that stage is Faisal Islam, the BBC's economics editor. Faisal, how important is this speech? Andy Burnham's not going to take questions, but this speech is being closely watched.
Yes, and I think one of the messages, we talked about devolution just before the break, but he will reiterate the notion of sticking to the existing borrowing limits, the so-called fiscal rules. And just to give you a little bit of background, over the past week, a tremendous political upheaval that we wouldn't have expected from a government of majority of 160. But the markets actually have not really moved. There hasn't really been a flicker. And I know that amongst his advisors, they feel, quietly rather happy about that and feel that that's because they have reassured on the fiscal rules. But also, this is where the politics and the economics are intertwined, because it does appear from where we're standing right now that there won't be a contest. And then there's a question mark about whether or not there'll have to be an election. And this is where I think we may distill some information from this speech, which is the extent to which he tries to make an argument that his agenda is basically the 2024 manifesto slightly renosed, and therefore it's the same mandate. And obviously there'll be a political argument about that. And the extent to which, if there isn't a contest, he can confidently kind of command his parliamentary benches. What we have seen in the past 10 years is when you've had crisis moments like this in politics, is yes, it matters whether your numbers add up, but it also matters whether you can confidently drive your agenda through Parliament, whether you can pass a budget. And governments with small majorities and with large majorities have failed to be able to do that. So that is another test in terms of market credibility. So I think that is one of the reasons why, frustratingly, although that there's a sort of story of what's not working in the UK that we seem to be being told, the specifics on policy that many are waiting for, we may be waiting longer for them too. Now, I've been doing things like reading his book.
Yes.
There's a pretty radical set of policies, things like abolishing the Barnett formula that allocates funding around the UK, things like changing the equation on which infrastructure projects get. He used to be Chief Secretary to the Treasury and was shocked that it didn't pass muster in terms of the Treasury equation to fund a fast train network across the north of England.
Oh, for fuck's sake! I thought he was going to give a speech. What's happened? I got some breakfast to eat while I'm sitting here. He needs to say we will no longer be pandering to the right wing hate and their policies. Not another one. Election. We're not going to have an election, I don't think. Sorry, I was hoping that I could come back and Andy Burnham would just be sitting, still getting ready to speak, and I could get on with the show, and we could watch, and I could eat my breakfast while I was watching it. But now I can't. I've got my breakfast here. I can't bloody eat it. I got a bowl of granola, by the way. Lidl's finest granola, if you were wondering. Go on, let's they're going to force us to watch the BBC. Let's watch the fucking BBC for a little bit.
He will do things
at least while I eat something.
Sufficiently differently from Keir Starmer, and he'll be bolder and more radical in delivering that Labour manifesto. So James Purnell, I think, is partly there because they can work well together and they are old friends, but also partly he will be more reassuring to the markets that Faisal was talking about as well, and a signal that he really does want a big tent, Andy Burnham, that and certainly those around him are insisting that appointments that he'll make will be based on merit, not on political faction, not on and James Purnell is an old friend, but not based on friendship groups. This will be whatever is best for the country, and it'll be a place for people across Labour's internal political spectrum.
We're just watching these pictures from Manchester as we wait to hear from Andy Burnham. And Faisal, I guess one obvious question is, a lot of Labour MPs got behind Burnham because they see him as being able to beat reform, and that is the sort of political fear that's been really rocking the Labour Party for a year and a half. Does devolution help that? Does it automatically deliver growth? Does it help in the political parts of the country where Labour will be fighting reform or fighting for the Green and the other left to centre votes?
It doesn't automatically deliver growth. It depends on the policies that are then delivered at a level that's closer to the public. But, for example, if you're in Liverpool, you would focus more on skills and apprenticeships that may help the Port of Liverpool. In Manchester, it may be more sort of creative industries, and it kind of like there are different policies that work better for different localities. There are sort of big infrastructure issues. For example, how you fund big infrastructure, and it doesn't tend to get the tick from the Treasury. And they change the equations. But there is an irony here, of course, because some of these localities are now, as you point out, reform councils, there are reform mayoralties as well.
Faisal, just let me interrupt because I think Andy Burnham is stepping onto the stage. Welcome by Bev Craig.
Hurrah!
And a big crowd of supporters. We will take you live to Manchester as that crowd wait to hear this first policy speech from Andy Burnham. You can see him just there at the front, greeting those people there who are gathered to see his plans for more regional devolution and a number 10 North to increase economic growth. Let's listen in.
Welcome. Thanks so much, everybody. Thanks very much, everyone. Wow, what a welcome. Good morning, everybody. Are you ready for this?
Positivity.
I'm sounding like I used to sound when I used to DJ across this this great city, and I'm probably doing that because I'm missing it so much. I'm missing all of you. I am missing all of you. Missing this place, the people.
It's only been a week.
Just brilliant to me.
It's last no week.
In my 9 years as mayor, I could not have asked for better backing. You were there at my back all the way through, and I will never forget what this place did for me. It's been such a wrench to leave that I've had to get special permission from what people in Westminster call my Manchester clothes. I've had to get special permission to wear them this morning. Sorry, Kemi, about that. However, I have bowed to public pressure on one front. I have bought some new running shorts. It was either do that or change the decency laws, and I opted for the former.
Why has he got a round of applause for that?
But I can't tell you how glad it makes me that we meet at this big moment in one of my favourite places on earth, the People's History Museum. It holds real significance for me, and it's not just because one of my old coats is in a glass case upstairs. And can you believe it, comes off second best alongside Michael Foot's infamous donkey jacket. It's because these galleries tell the story of our country better than anywhere else. How through time it has not been run in the interests of the many. And how ordinary people have fought to change that status quo and make it fairer. Today, we must take inspiration from that history and get ready to repeat it. The time has come to build the broadest possible coalition of people to lift Britain back up to where we all want it to be.
Beginning of the speech, he was just doing it off the cuff. Now he's reading.
What hope can we have that it will be different this time? That's the question I would be asking if I was a voter right now. It's the one I want to answer as clearly as I can today, and in doing so, give the new direction the country is looking for. After 10 years of political turbulence since Brexit and 20 years of falling living standards since the 2008 financial crash, Westminster hasn't been working for people, and it hasn't been working for a very long time. In fact, it is broken. And as a result, the country isn't where it should be. It is stuck in a rut, and clearly we can't go on like this. My generation of politicians, including me, must take responsibility. We haven't been good enough. But instead of being honest about that, the parties have continued with politics as usual, finger-pointing, point-scoring. Now, that might matter less in a world where people's lives are getting better, but when they are not, it is dangerous and destructive of what remains of public trust in politics. We cannot go through another decade like the one we have just had. We need a new determination to raise living standards of every single
CND
person
logo.
on this land. And we must accept that, to do that, to fix the economy and the country, we need to change politics, and we need to do it now. So let me state my clear intention as I put myself forward. True to the motto of this city, I am going to do things differently. I am going to break with the more of the same approach that has got us here. I am going to give Britain the circuit breaker it needs. By building a more collaborative politics in Westminster, by taking power out of the centre and putting it in the hands of the people and places who can use it best. And in so doing, creating a new sense of agency, possibility and hope flowing around the country. We will make politics work for you and the place where you live. I know it can be done because we have done it here. When I started as mayor in 2017, we set about building a new approach, a new politics based on the exact opposite of the Westminster approach. Place first, not party first. Problem solving, not point scoring. Long term, not short term. A decade on, it's incredible how much we've been able to achieve by working together instead of fighting against one another. The Greater Manchester Way is based on strong partnership between all sectors, public, private, community, voluntary, academic, faith, and our trade unions. We ask everyone to face the same way and then pull in that same direction together. Let me give you an example. When we realised the last Conservative government had done something significant by introducing 45-day work placements for young people linked to T-levels, we set ourselves the mission of finding one for every young person who wanted one. Over the course of last year, we rang round our businesses in the city region and with the help of hundreds of companies delivered our goal of 1,000 extra work placements. That's 1,000 extra young lives changed every year, and it shows what a place can do when it works as one. For Britain to get back where it should be, those same principles need to be applied now to how we run the country, pull in the same direction, move forward together. But let's not kid ourselves, this is not as easy as it sounds. Westminster and Whitehall are set up for conflict, and they require radical change if the country is to get back on track. I left Westminster a decade ago with the Mayor of the Liverpool City region, Steve Rotherham, because we could see it simply wasn't working for the northwest of England and the people here, and indeed other parts of Britain, the same thing. The Parliament I returned to on Monday is full of good people, many of them here in the audience today, members of Parliament who've joined us. And they are working hard every day, trying to do the right thing for the places that they represent. But it's hard, it's too hard for them to make change. Why? Because power is not in the hands of those places that they represent, but held by an insufficiently accountable, outsourced state. We are one of the most over-centralised countries in the world.
Yeah.
And worse, that over-centralised heart of the country is not pulling in the same way, but in different directions.
Yeah.
That is the reality of Westminster now, both within our parties and between them, and between the departments of Whitehall. I'll be honest, I was worried about what I found on my return last week. It is a more fragmented, disjointed place than the one I left, and frankly, unhappier. I will work hard to change that culture, leading from the front and showing how things can be different. Letting MPs be authentic representatives and not using the whip system to create fear or close down debate.
Ooh, okay.
Involving more people in the work of the government and drawing on the breadth and depth of talent and expertise our party has to offer.
That's interesting.
While the political direction I set is not up for negotiation, I will build an inclusive team at the very highest level so that all parts of the party and the country can see themselves reflected and represented in it. And may I say, I will not announce those decisions on appointments. Certainly not today, and indeed not until the end of this process. So until then, feel free to discount the wild speculation in circulation. Message for the back of the room there. Good morning, Mr. Mason.
Chris Mason, that is. From the BBC.
I will reach
Wild
out to
speculator.
other political parties to find as much common ground as we can and build that more collaborative approach I spoke about a moment ago. So, a greater sense of unity in Parliament will then allow us to give a clearer sense of direction to Whitehall. I was struck by recent comments from ministers expressing their deep frustration at the Whitehall turf wars. Like Parliament, the civil service is full of good people trying to do the right thing, but they are held back by the structure and culture in which they have to work. It is too adversarial, and too much time is wasted with departmental silos battling each other and battling the Treasury rather than getting things done. How can the country pull in the same direction when that is the reality at the very top? And as mayors, I'm sure I speak for the front row here, as mayors, we have felt similar frustration over the years when those same departments constantly push back against our legitimate requests to improve our places by devolving a fraction of the power and resources they hold. Yeah. The truth is this: the country spends too much time arguing and not enough time doing. I'm not sure this Whitehall culture could ever be justified. It wasn't justified when I was a minister almost 20 years ago, but it certainly can't be justified now. The stark imbalance in resources between national government and local government is holding back growth.
Yeah, agreed.
If councils can't fix potholes, what chance do they have of bringing forward major regeneration schemes to get growth going? While national government has got bigger, particularly since the pandemic, local government is threadbare and without the resources to fulfil even statutory responsibilities. This is not just bad for councils and the areas they serve. It is bad for everywhere. It is bad for London and the South East. The whole country suffers when the regions and nations are not meeting their potential, and Londoners are left with an overheated economy and an overcrowded housing market. It is actually bad for national government too, because we will never get the growth up to the level Britain needs unless every single postcode in the land is set up to contribute to it. This country hasn't thought in that way before, but with the Makerfield test at the heart of decision-making, it will do from now on.
What's the Makerfield test? I must have missed that.
To make it happen, we will bring about the biggest rebalancing of power our country has seen. It is time for Whitehall to accept that growth cannot be ordered from the top down. Instead, it can only be nurtured from the bottom up.
Hey,
it comes from having the power at ground level to make a real difference, from a clear shared vision that everyone can understand and investors can back. It comes from running sound finances, as we have done here in Greater Manchester, which in turn gives businesses the stability and the confidence to invest, increasing their productivity and adoption of new technology. It comes from placing our universities at the heart of local economies, as all the mayors do, and bringing the innovation-led approach through start-ups and scale-ups. It comes from committing to decent infrastructure in all parts of the UK and getting national investors to back the aspirations set by regions. It comes from giving people the security of a good home and good employment so that they can be as productive as possible, from good mobility and an ability to afford the basics. And it comes from not leaving everything to the market.
Yes.
But public intervention where necessary.
Yes.
To set higher ambitions for towns, as we did in Stockport, and kickstart the process of change. This is Manchesterism.
Okay, Makerfield test, Manchesterism.
I think I even saw the Mayor of Liverpool clapping at that one. It is a vision for good growth and a rejection of the old trickle-down model.
Yes, trickle-down model has never fucking worked. I'm liking this. Come on. This is better than anything Starmer's ever said.
And like the ideas this museum celebrates, which grew here and changed the country, so all parts of the UK should now be given the chance to develop their own version of the same, focusing on the things that matter most to them. Good growth in every British postcode. What a sea change that would be in the way UK government thinks about our own country. Places no longer forgotten or written off, as they have been in the past, but supported to make the best of their assets, seeing the positives in all places. And there are positives in all places, in all postcodes across this United Kingdom. Let's always remember that. Powers for our rural economies to address issues specific to them, like inadequate transport.
Yes.
Powers for areas undergoing industrial transition, like Port Talbot, Scunthorpe and Aberdeen. Powers for our proud coastal towns to reimagine themselves for the 21st century. And yes, more powers for London too, over education and housing, so that London can do more for itself and remain the world's greatest capital city. And you heard that here from Manchester.
He's trying not to piss off the Cockneys too much, obviously. Yeah, he is the first Scouse PM since Gladstone.
By the stability that
Second
comes
of all time.
from sound public finances, as I said before, and the discipline of our current fiscal rules. I hope people can begin to feel, hopefully you can, some of the excitement that comes with the change that I'm setting out today. It promises a new era of possibility for Britain, possibility in places that haven't felt it for a very long time. And I know, because I heard that from people on doorsteps in the by-election. But let's give them that feeling, that ability to hope, to aspire to better. The change will be the biggest change in our lifetimes to the way the country is run. And it is consistent with the 2024 manifesto. We will create a more streamlined state with a clearer purpose to power up all parts of the country and put a laser-like focus on growth and regeneration, good growth. The change will be driven through the Prime Minister's office in an extended operation based here in Manchester.
Woo. Like that. Yep, she's going for it. I just want to help. Yeah, good. Do it. Let's go. Let's go. No, he hasn't been announced, but he will be.
It will only be based here. The job of Number 10 North will be to make power flow into the Midlands, into the southwest, into the east of England, and yes, into London, as I said before, as much as into the northeast, Yorkshire and the Humber, and here in the northwest. It will be about offering new opportunities to extend devolution in Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland by taking power deeper down. The people of Dundee and Bangor feel just as distant from Holyrood and the Senedd as they do from Westminster. Now get this. Number 10 North will be the nerve centre of a rewired Britain. It will be the conduit through which we redistribute power and resources across the UK. It will coordinate all parts of government at national and local level to agree a long-term economic strategy and help all places set new growth ambitions. It will be given a mission to strive for equivalent living conditions in all parts of Britain, borrowing from the German Basic Law. It will make place-based collaboration the new operating principle for UK PLC, requiring all government departments and agencies to support strategic and local authorities with staffing and resources. And let me say this very directly. And let me say this very directly. The days of Whitehall fighting the devolution power into the regions and nations are over, for good. I have had 10 years of fighting the Whitehall machine, blocking this place's progress, the progress of people here, and I am simply not prepared to accept the same for any area coming after Greater Manchester. The whole of Whitehall will now be required to get behind our places and work together with them to make quicker, more joined-up decisions. Ours will be a 10-year mission to raise living standards across the land. To do this, Number 10 North will support the regions on 3 clear tasks: reform of essential utilities, reindustrialisation and the regeneration of places. On utilities. On utilities, we will ensure all parts of the UK are able to take greater public control of essential services like water, housing, energy and transport, learning from the model that has transformed our bus networks here in Greater Manchester.
Rolling out
we will set out
for the
10-year plans to bring down the cost of these essentials to individuals, families and businesses. On reindustrialisation, we will support every region to set clear and credible industrial ambitions and provide the support to achieve them, encouraging more cross-UK partnership between places with complementary industrial clusters, as Cambridge and Manchester have done on life sciences. We will consolidate public and private investment at a place-based level and help all areas establish good growth funds, as we have done here in Greater Manchester. We are such an inventive country, and going forward, we can be the world's leading innovation nation. This is the key to higher growth, and I want more world-beating British manufacturers and service providers at the frontier of new technology and exporting to the world. I will back our scientists, technologists, entrepreneurs and creatives, as I have done here, and show how Britain will be the innovation nation of the next decade. We will get better at capturing full value from their ideas for UK PLC by changing the culture in Whitehall when it comes to backing British industry. For too long, UK public procurement policy has been based on chasing cut-price deals around the world, rather than helping our own British-based suppliers become more stable and competitive. No more. From here on, every pound raised from taxpayers will work harder for them, and that approach will apply fully to the Defence Investment Plan. We will make sure that all eligible public contracts are subject to proper social value weighting.
That's good. Bringing in social value weighting into the bidding process. That's interesting. We'll talk about that.
And we will do that to make sure British-based companies are in a better position to win those contracts. This change is essential, given the need to build our own resilience in places across the country in an increasingly uncertain world. We need to safeguard sovereign manufacturing and production capability across the country in critical sectors like steel, defence, energy, food and farming, rather than just being prepared to let it go, as we have sadly done in the past. In return, we will recycle maximum benefits for our communities and our residents. For instance, by requiring a much greater supply of 45-day work placements and apprenticeships for young people. I take very seriously the findings of the recent report by Alan Milburn. We need a complete rethink of how we support the next generation to succeed. And it has to start with the education system. The days of a school system configured entirely around the university route will be brought to an end.
Wow.
University is great for those who want it, but when are we going to focus on the life chances of those kids who want something different? When? The country hasn't done that for a long, long time. People have argued over many years for an education system based on parity between academic and technical, and that is what we will build, giving every young person growing up here a clear path into a reindustrialised Britain. Where young people need mental health support, it should be provided as part of in-work support.
Yes.
And we will answer the call from the mayors, and particularly the Mayor of the North East, for devolution of employment support and changing the way we support and sustain people employment, working much more through our community and voluntary sector at a grassroots level, working with organisations people trust to help them, rather than going into places that they fear. This is the difference that the mayors can make, and in doing that, we will reduce the welfare bill in a way that is fair and lasting and helps people move forward. Another way to do that is by repairing the public housing stock. Britain has lost almost 1.5 million council homes since the 1980s, and around the same number of people are now on housing waiting lists and have been there for a very long time. As a result, the country is in a housing trap. We are forced to chase rents in the private rented sector through the benefit system. When governments try to control these costs by freezing local housing allowance, it makes families homeless and places unfunded pressures on councils when they have to pay for temporary accommodation. Britain's housing crisis is having a ruinous impact on its public finances. So, working with local areas, Number 10 North will oversee the biggest council house building programme since the post-war period.
Fantastic.
We will use public land, vacant public land, to reduce costs. Let me just take you back to when I grew up here in the 1970s, and Steve Rotherham and I have written about this in a certain book. But when we were growing up here, amongst the friends we had at school, there were two things that were the foundations of working class aspiration. A council home, a secure home that was the foundation for everything, and then good technical education. And those things have been taken away in the decades since. So no wonder so many young people struggle to make it work and then don't make it work. Don't blame them. Blame ourselves. We haven't been giving people this stability, this ability to get on in life. And it's time we did and brought back working class aspiration, the chance of somebody growing up here to be everything that they can be. And that's what we'll do. And also make this a city where no one has to leave to get on in life, or any of the other cities represented here today. That's what this new era is going to be all about. A sense of hope, of possibility, that things are achievable that you might not have thought were before. And having this focus on council homes again and building them in all parts of the country, it will represent a decisive shift to a more preventative, productive state, adopting a national housing first philosophy, as has been pioneered so successfully in Finland. If you don't give people a good home, what chance have they got of having a good life? What chance of making the health service sustainable if people are not living in good accommodation or getting a good education for kids? Everything starts with a good home. And this country finally has to put that at the top of its priority list. Through this new approach, we will bring higher density residential development to our towns, and Number 10 North will be able to support all places to turn around those towns, their high streets and the local centres, increasing footfall on the high street and protecting more green spaces from development. To reinforce that, we will reform business rates to support pubs and high street businesses, businesses that bring social benefits to communities. And let me finish by saying this. Rather than being a marker of decline, shouldn't we make our high streets the new symbol of Britain's renaissance?
Yes. Cafes and bars, theatres, comedy clubs, cinemas, destinations, lovely bookshops.
Ours is a
coffee shop
10-year
inside.
mission to raise people's living standards. I know people can't wait forever for change. I heard on doorsteps in Makerfield how people need a bit extra now to help with rising costs. I will do my very best to deliver it, and whilst not taking risks with the public finances, will seek to give Britain some breathing space as soon as I can. People need to be able to look forward to a night out or a holiday with the kids. People need hope. This brings me back to where I started and the stories told in this building of how ordinary people, right back to Peterloo 200 years ago here, changed a British state not built with them in mind. Our modern challenge is exactly the same. An economy which, from the mid-1980s onwards, has not been built with them in mind and instead has handed more to those who already have most and left people overpaying for the basics. If people in 1844 could form the cooperative movement in Rochdale to lower the price of food, then why can't we act now with similar courage to make life better?
Courage.
Imagine what things could be like if we succeed. Imagine what it would feel like to live in a country wired to work for ordinary people rather than against them. Imagine if all local areas could build homes people can afford to the point where they could guarantee one for everyone. Imagine if we could bring down the cost of energy for people and businesses and the good things that would come from that. Imagine good growth in every postcode and hope in every heart.
He fluffed his line there. Damn it. Oh well. 9.5 out of 10. Good growth in every postcode.
I'll say it again. Imagine good growth in every postcode and hope in every heart. Well, imagine no more. Let's make it happen.
Got it right on the second chance. The second try.
Andy Burnham there, not taking questions, but repeating his
Not taking
final
any
line.
shit, more
Imagine
like.
good growth in every postcode and hope in every heart. He repeated that twice as he sets out his vision for Britain and also very much his pitch to be the next Labour leader and Prime Minister. So in the speech in Manchester, he has announced plans for a number 10 North. This would be a massive transfer of power to the regions, with mayors given greater control over social housing, over welfare and education as well. And during the speech, he said that his economic plan will drive growth across every nation and region of the UK. Lots of applause in Manchester. Good reception to this speech, and listening to it as well whilst contributing to the BBC News Live page, which is also up and running on the BBC News website. And you should take a look at that too for some further analysis. Has been our very busy economic.
Oh, okay. I don't care what Faisal Islam's got to say about it myself, but you know, if you want to know what Faisal Islam is saying about it on the TV behind me there, all you need to do is go and watch the BBC. Bye. But if you want to stay with me, all you need to do is just keep watching. So let's have a little bit of a summing up there. God, this show's gone for over 3 hours now. It's a long show. It's a long show. Super chats are still open, by the way. If we get another 4 super chats, we can, I don't know, up to you. We could either do the Boba Fetty or the Confetti, or maybe I'll do something else. Maybe we could get up and do a little dance. I don't care. But they sell them off. The full price must be replaced, says Sean. So how are you? Oh, thank you very much, Calrell there, saying, well, I have Graham analysis. Thank you. What did you think? What did you think of the speech? Let's go through some of the notes that I've made. He says he wants to get rid of the whips. I mean, that's a bit of a headline right there. He wants to get rid of the whip system. He wants to work cross-party, which I'm assuming means working with the Greens, working with the Alliance Party in Northern Ireland, working with the Lib Dems, maybe even working with the Tories to some extent. Because think about it this way. The biggest threat to refuck is the Tories. You know, we talk about Rupert Lowe and his stupid Restore thing, and that is splitting their vote. But at the end of the day, the Tories are an incredibly wealthy and established party. Afternoon brew. I need to change the light bulb. But yeah, so that'll be really interesting. So he talked about that, and also bringing number 10 to Manchester, having number 10 North in Manchester. He's talking about quicker, more joined up thinking across Whitehall. Instead of Whitehall putting the blockers on what local governments want to do, he wants them to accelerate what they want to do. He wants to end the disparity between the amount of money that the national government has to play with compared with the regional governments, which is entirely true. I mean, in Liverpool alone, we had our funding, our central government funding, cut by 49% by the Tories. 49% in their fucking austerity bullshit. 49%. There's a quote here from, I think, Clockwise with John Cleese. Thank you very much to SG there. It's not the despair. I can take the despair. It's the hope I can't stand. I'm feeling hope. Am I an idiot? No, you're absolutely not an idiot, SG. Burnham clearly has different priorities to Starmer, and I don't think he's going to make the same mistakes as Starmer. That's not to say he won't make mistakes. Of course he will. He's human. But I don't think he's going to make the same mistakes that Starmer made. I think he's looked at what Starmer has done and rightly seen that Starmer hasn't set out a vision. So this is him setting out his vision. There's a lot in this. Talking about moving water, housing, energy, and transport to local areas rather than being controlled out of London, which is just crazy, you know? And he talked about how it's not just helping out the regions, it's not just helping out the southwest and the north of England, Wales and Scotland, and Northern Ireland. It's not just about helping these places that aren't London, right? It also helps London for these places to have some money. Like I keep saying about austerity being bullshit, because the more money that's sloshing around the system, the better. So you can have a look at this. Look, London at the moment is just too concentrated. You can't afford to live there. And the life quality of people in London is put to detriment because of that very fact. So it means that people are just working out every hour God sends in order to just eke out some kind of income that can keep their head above water to pay off their mortgage or to pay off their rent. Or to pay their rent. And everyone in the chat, please keep it civil. I don't know ad hominems in the chat. If any of you see any ad hominems, I give permission to the mods here to just put people into timeout for a little bit. Don't need to ban them, just put them into timeout a little bit if they're being a bit nasty. But yeah, then we want to talk about this being a 10-year plan. And that's really important because that's setting out the vision, and also it gives an excuse. It gives you a little get out clause. Why haven't you done this yet? We're getting it done. It's part of a 10-year plan. Be patient. You can't, Rome wasn't built in a day, etc. It's a canny strategy to say a 10-year plan, and also not to say a 5-year plan, because then people will say by the next election, "Oh, why haven't you done this yet?" But there are certain things here that he can do straight away. Spent the summer moving bits of number 10 up into Manchester, which is great. And then we've got he was talking about public and private investments. And so what happens at the moment is if we have a government contract that goes out, we're part of a thing based out of the WTO, the World Trade Organization. And it's this group of about 46 countries, right? And it's like the Government Procurement Association or something. I forgot what it's called. But that's what its name does not concern you. What matters is what it does. And essentially it says that all of the countries signed up to this, if they have a big government procurement thing that's going on, they can't give preferential treatment for that contract to their own country. Now you think, why would anyone want to sign that? Well, it allows them to get stuff done at a cheaper rate because you can shop around all the countries who can provide the service. Say, for instance, making the new black British passport. So this is now made. It's designed in France and it is printed in Poland. Because they've just worked out what's the cheapest way to do it. And it's why the pages of the new passports are so fucking thin. They're like tissue paper. And the front is, the crest is rubbing off on my older one there already. And you can see that the way it's bent at the top, you can see that's bending and that one's bending as well. It's just cheaper materials. It's cheaper, right? So what Burnham has said here is he wants to add social value weighting into those contracts, which is a really good idea because you can say, no, we're going to give it to the British company. We're going to give this contract to the British company to do because we need to take the value of the social value in there. We need to weight it towards that. And you think, well, hang on, what if we get kicked out of this group? I don't think we will because Donald Trump has done so much damage to the WTO in the last 10 years. I don't know if, honestly, I don't know if they'll even have the power now to censure us for doing this. But we do need to be making more jobs in this country instead of farming them out to other places. He also talked about the school system and giving things up, something that we've talked about on this channel a lot in the past about universities. Not everyone wants to go to university. Not everyone's geared to go to university. And it's great that under Tony Blair, the new Labour set this target for 50% of all school leavers to go to university. And that's wonderful. And they've met that target by now. What about the other 50%? What about the other 50% who can't start a job because you need experience to start a job and you can't get experience unless you got a job? Catch 22. So looking at that, I think that is it's really good. He talked about growth funds. He'd mentioned obviously innovation, but also creatives as well, which is something I was talking about this morning. He used the term UK PLC, which I don't really like, but whatever. Keep the money people on board with that, I guess. But what came across? He talked about council houses. He talked about regenerating the high streets. He talked about his 10-year mission. He talked about the co-op in Rochdale being set up in 1844. And he talked about courage. And what he said, I felt, was very clear and very concise, very understandable. He's obviously, put a load of sound bites in there so he knew exactly, how this was going to come across. And when people snip it and put it onto social media. The good growth in every postcode, hope in every heart. I mean, it's a bit of a shitload slogan, but I guess if that stays in people's heads, okay, cool. But there is a lot in here. Transport as well. Transport, energy, water, housing. I mean, there's a lot in what he's just said. A lot of stuff that they can get going on pretty quickly without it needing necessarily to be an act of parliament. Don't forget, when you want to bring in something like that, the renters' rights or the workers' rights, I mean, that's great, but it takes a long fucking time. This sort of thing, this is admin. You don't necessarily need to pass a law of parliament in order to make it take effect. Will the passports last 10 years, says Greg? Yeah, probably. People don't use them that much. Based off what I've heard about him and how he just spoke, he would have ruined Boris Johnson. This is so annoying that he could have been there all this time. Yes, Blue Badger. I voted for him in 2015. I voted for him, and yeah, instead we got someone else. And then I've read that one. Can I just ask? This is from Chrissy. Can I just ask if Scotland and Wales decide to break off from the UK? What are the long-term plans for your economies, healthcare system, welfare, etc.? I mean, that's a bit of an unfair question to ask, I feel, because you've only got like 160 characters here, so it might be a bit tricky. But yeah, I don't know why the chat, because I was watching Andy Burnham and making notes. I wasn't following the chat, so I don't know why we're talking about Welsh devolution at the moment, but maybe he didn't say enough things about how he's going to help out Wales, but I think he's going to do more than the Tories ever would or will. Don't forget, it was Labour who brought in the National Assembly in Wales, and now it's moved up to a Senate. It's got a Senate now. And SG says, I'm so happy he lost to Corbyn. We in Manchester really benefited from him being here. All right, SG. What about the rest of us, eh? Can't we have a bit of Burnham? well, we're going to get a lot of Burnham over the next few years, I think. But the knives are already out. But he's talking here about big ideas at last. Not just, colouring in the edges, tapering with the bits at the. He's talking about the biggest rebalancing of power this country has ever seen. He's talked about, the fact that the current system is not working for people, not just up north. It's not working for people in the south either. It's not working for people in Scotland. It's not working for people in Wales or in Northern Ireland. He wants to make power flow around the country so people in different areas are in charge of their own destiny. We take the piss out of America because there's only 100 senators covering an area of 330 million people. But each of those people, even in places like Puerto Rico, US Virgin Islands, Guam, Northern Mariana Islands, American Samoa, which don't get a say in the national politics, but locally, these areas, they have quite a lot of autonomy, more autonomy than our local areas, and all the states in America have a lot more autonomy than we do in our areas. We don't get to write our own constitution for Lincolnshire. Well, thank God for that, actually, because otherwise, Andrea Jenkins, who's the mayor, the Metro mayor for, well, not would be Metro, would it? The mayor for Lincolnshire is a bloody nightmare. God knows what she'll write. If you're talking about devolved nations, we have a number of extremely productive industries coming on stream: tin, lithium, energy from wind, wave, and hot rocks. Yeah, that is fantastic news. I will say, though, that there's a lot of countries in the world that have incredible amounts of natural materials, natural commodities, what's it called? Natural minerals, whatever, and resources, that's the word. They have a lot of natural resources and yet are fuck poor. Because it's more than that. You need a really good mixed economy, and if we can make the whole of the UK richer, that's going to really, really help, because at the moment there is far too much power and far too much money in London, and the rest of us are like, we're peering through the window watching other people eat. I expect the greed of those in the southeast will bring him down. Too afraid of the house value not going up enough, says Draney. Maybe, but he's got a 3-year run now. He's got a 3-year run till the next election. The next election doesn't have to take place to the end of June 2029. So he's got 3 years, Jeremy says he's a Labour friend of Israel member. I think he is, but then again, there's a fuckload of Labour MPs are friends of Israel members. But there you go. Chris is going. Oh, sorry, Chris. Something I said. Burnham voted for the Iraq War. So everyone, I think, at the time. Also, if you want to vote for the Lib Dems, they went in with the Tories and put austerity on this country. The Iraq War, in hindsight, was an absolute fuck up, but it was 23 years ago. And Bernie Sanders, yeah. He voted to bomb the shit out of Serbia when they were killing people in Kosovo. They called him Bomber Bernie. Bomber Bernie, they called him in the late 90s. I don't know if he'll to vote the same way again now, but if you hold people to account for things that they did literally decades ago, we're never going to move forwards as a country, because it presupposes that we never made a bad decision or been led down the garden path by a bunch of dickheads with a dodgy dossier. Does that mean he takes money from Israel? No, it doesn't mean he takes money from Israel. They don't pay people to join the Labour Friends of Israel. It's just like, there's all these different groups within Labour, unofficial and official, and they just meet up and have a drink or something. I don't think it's a case he's going to be controlled by Israel, but we'll see. We'll see what his attitude is in terms of foreign policy towards Israel, and whether they're going to be even more outspoken against what has been going on in Gaza and the Middle East. Targeted attacks on children, on civilians, by the Israeli Defense Force. I mean, a lot of this is untenable, and he's going to have to walk that narrow line of having a go at the Israeli government without actually alienating people in this country and in Israel who haven't done anything wrong. The fucking government has. They should all go to fucking jail for the rest of time. There's going to be an election later this year in Israel. I'm hoping that that will change things for the better, but we'll have to see. But yeah, there was a lot of things in there that he didn't mention because it was only a half-hour speech, and it was just about the basics, I guess. So I don't think we can really do him for not mentioning things in this speech or not apologising for whatever. But until we get to the point where, we're he's in place and he's got to make these decisions of how to deal with Trump and how to deal with Netanyahu and how to deal with Putin and how to deal with the rise of the far right in this country and all over Europe, then yeah. And I don't think he's going to get all the priorities lined up with what your priorities are or mine, because, he's a squishy little human and we're shit. The only reason the UN called a military call to arms is for Cold War reasons, not for humanitarian reasons in Kosovo. Hard to defend NATO in those actions, in my opinion. I don't agree. Having been to Kosovo a few times, the ethnic Albanians were being massacred, being slaughtered by the Serbians. Same trick that they did in Bosnia a few years earlier. If you go to Mostar, go to Sarajevo, see the mass graves, and no, someone had to intervene. I wish we'd intervene more in what's going on in Ukraine at the moment. Sitting here and watching a war on our doorstep in which thousands and thousands of people are dying is grim while we're playing football. And it's really fucking grim. I believe that it was Edward I that got my country into this situation, says Cymru. And building friendships is the best thing a human can do. You never get very far on your own without the help of friends. Anyway, I'm sorry that the chat has descended into name calling and stuff, but I was feeling quite positive about that speech until this point. So yeah, it's a lot better it's a lot better than the last guy, than the guy who's in there at the moment, but he's going to be the last guy in a few weeks' time. He's our future ex-Prime Minister, Keir Starmer. That was a lot better. It's just a lot better. He came up, he talked off the cuff for a little bit, and then, seemed to be having a good time. And he's put forward some really, really positive things for everybody in this country right now. A lot better than the situation we have now, where we have all these councils around the country and, and devolved regions of the country turn up to Westminster with a fucking begging bowl, asking for some money, and Westminster going, well, what have you done for me lately? Do you know what I mean? Like, so any change in that situation, I think, is to be welcomed. But, your mileage may vary. Anyway, I've yammered on now for 3.5 hours and I'm, tired. And now I'm a little bit grumpy as well. So there's that. So I'm going to fuck off. I will be back tonight at 9 o'clock. We're going to be doing a show. It'll either be, maybe be me and Scott doing a show about what's happening in America. Obviously, it's the run up to July the 4th, which is going to be absolutely freaking hilarious. Because Trump has made it into a big rally with a passport where you got his picture in the passport or something. I don't fucking know. So join us for if he's up for it. Doing a show stateside tonight at 9 o'clock. Otherwise, I might do a bit of writing this afternoon, but it is going to be interrupted because they'll get the kids from schools and stuff. So I will say I'll definitely be back tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock with another morning brew. Keep it civil in the chat there. I'm going off to go and sit in the corner and cry because everything's not perfect and fuck me. Until next time, hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.